Golf sickos, what a beautiful intro that was. Makes me sad. I'm gonna hit the honesty button. I think we have the capability for me to hit the honesty button this early in the show. I'm gonna hit the honesty button. Here it is. I'm really sad, man. Major season is over. We're no longer in the beautiful Northern Irish region, Northern Ireland. That intro made me a little bit sentimental for the week, but we have so much to talk about. I'm joined, as always, by, I've got a new one for you, as I tend to on Mondays, my human trolley. Well, because trolley was a word that they used for a push cart when we were in Northern Ireland.
Oh, yes.
And sometimes I feel like you are my trolley because,
Yes,
when I'm just getting a little tired or I just need you to, quarterback a rank of blind, you take the handles. And also, there were no straps on those.
Sorry.
Did you notice that?
We only lost the bag once.
You had to be really, really strategic with where you parked the trolley on that linksy turf. I was thinking yesterday, there was not a single moment when that tournament was in doubt all day. So he starts with a 4-shot lead. Scottie Scheffler, obviously, we're talking about. You might have heard of him. Hits a good tee shot on one. Hits his approach shot to 1 foot on the first hole, and it was over. It was completely over. And it was a totally different experience from Oakmont, where it was anyone's game. And even Quail Hollow, where Scottie, ended up winning by 5 shots, but it was much, much closer than that. Right? We had Bryson was there, Rom was there. And it felt like his most dominant win yet. Just because of his stature in the game, and it was like a slow progression. He was up there after the first round, he's up to the second round, he takes full control after the third round, and then absolutely squeezes all the life out of the tournament in the fourth round. And one of my takeaways from yesterday, we're going to get to 18 takeaways, we're going to do our 18 parting thoughts on this show. One of my big takeaways from yesterday, and we have actually more than 18, because we had 18 when I finished writing, and then I had 6 more popped in my head, so we're going to do more than 18. Every announcer kept trying to make this Portrush celebration happen. It was like Mean Girls. They were trying to make fetch happen. It just wasn't going to happen, right? They were talking, I wonder if Scottie now, he didn't see any of the golf course this week. Maybe he'll head over to the Harbor Bar, with the claret jug. Absolutely not. That man had his couch on his mind from the second that tournament finished. And you could tell in every interview he did after, he just wanted to go home. He just wanted to go home. You think this guy's going to be out at the Harbor Bar until 2 a.m. partying? Absolutely not. This guy wants to be back on his couch with his wife and his son watching The Office. Maybe a Diet Coke just to, to liven things up. It was just hilarious to me that everyone kept trying to make this celebration happen, and it just wasn't going to happen.
He's not Shane Lowry, bro.
He's not Shane Lowry. He's not Shane Lowry. We're going to talk about Shane Lowry. We're going to talk about everyone. We made a little social video. We went live on Saturday. By the way, the live shows, guys, this week were absolutely incredible. Smash a like on the video for the 3 live shows that we did this week. We had a Monday show live in Portrush. We had a Wednesday show live in Portrush. Then I hopped on Saturday after play finished, and it was the energy was amazing, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic. We didn't do one yesterday because we wanted to save the goods for today. But Alex and I did make a recap that kind of went through Scottie's greatness, and I think it's a really good way to start the show. So here I am talking about Scottie Scheffler.
Being able to walk up 18 with the tournament in hand is a really tough thing to describe.
Scottie Scheffler is now a 4-time major champion after a dominant performance at Royal Portrush. This was a tour de force, and here are 5 takeaways on Scottie's greatness. Number 1, Scottie now has 12 wins since March of 2024, and that includes 3 of the 4 major championships and a gold medal. That is essentially equaling what Jordan Spieth has accomplished in his entire career in a span of 16 months. This is not normal what we're seeing. This is a better run than Spieth. It's a better run than any of the ones Rory went on. It's a better run than Jason Day, and it's lasting longer, and it is showing absolutely no signs of slowing down.
In a historical context, you could argue that there's only maybe 2 or 3 players in the history of the game that have been on a run the one that Scottie's been on here for the last sort of 24 to 36 months.
That's now 10 straight 54-hole leads that Scottie Scheffler has closed. He sucked the life out of this tournament on Saturday, and then what did he do on Sunday? He birdied the first hole. The entire Northern Irish crowd was trying to will their way into a Scottie versus Rory battle, but Scottie just never gave it any sort of oxygen. He's become a bona fide closer, too.
Scottie's in a league of his own right now, and I played with him a bunch in college, and he was not that good, so he's figured out a lot of stuff since then, and it's really impressive to see, and something all we can learn from.
The putting turnaround has altered the course of golf history. Let's rewind to February of 2024. Scottie was finishing in the top 10 every week despite being one of the worst putters out there, and we ran the numbers. How many tournaments would Scottie win if he could just putt average, let alone good? Well, he's become a good putter, and I don't know if it's Phil Kenyon, I don't know if it's the mallet, but whatever it is, it has changed our sport. Because this man, in the words of Matt Fitzpatrick, when he's putting well,
the difference that's taken him to this unbeatable run.
I really enjoyed watching Scottie on Sunday. I saw some chatter online that this is boring, there's no intrigue. I don't know. know. I rewatch the Tiger 2000 documentary all the time because I love watching greatness and watching Scottie, his distance control being so perfect, him making the par putts and getting fired up because he didn't want to make a bogey. I really enjoyed it. Greatness is fun to watch.
Obviously, if he keeps going the way he is, I think we're all going to look back and talk about him in the same breath as some of the all-time greats.
And my last one, what an amazing season in majors. All the talk was Rory at the beginning of the year. He became an immortal in our sport. He won the Masters, finally got his white whale, and then Scottie wins 2 of the last 3 majors to remind the world that this is still Scottie Scheffler's tour. We had JJ Spawn winning out of nowhere, a Cinderella story. What a great season in the majors. I can't believe it's over. Thank goodness we still have the playoffs and the Ryder Cup. You got a stat you wanted to bring me.
Yeah, you were talking about the question, how good could he be if he fixed his putting? I heard this morning on No Laying Up that
wow,
since
that's a crazy thing to bring in the show right off the top.
Since he switched putters,
better be a hell of a stat.
32 starts since he switched putters, 13 wins. That's a 40% win percentage.
Since he went to the mallet.
That's insane.
Yeah.
40% win percentage.
And you know,
imagine if your 3-point percentage in basketball was 40%. That's really solid.
It's really good. Imagine how Rory must be feeling. You know, he's the one who suggested the mallet. And actually, as I was watching Rory talk there, it sort of popped into my head that it's almost a bit of a Phil Tiger situation that's happening with Rory and with Scottie. So people forget that before Tiger, Phil was the Tiger. Everyone knew about him from such a young age. He was a phenom. Same thing as Rory, right? 16 years old, setting the course record at Royal Portrush at 61, right? And then a guy who's just a little bit younger pops up. And there's a lot of parallels between Rory and Phil with, you know, a lot of near misses being part of their story and, you know, kind of the more relatable of the two. And then this cyborg comes along who's just a couple years younger. And Scottie's got 4, you know, when we did this show, I remember we did a ranking right after the Masters of the greatest players of all time, or the greatest players of the post-Tiger era. Rory was a clear number 1. He had 5 majors and Scottie had 2. How quickly that changed.
I know.
It's already 5 versus 4. And as I said in that video, Scottie has had all of Jordan Spieth's career in 16 months, which someone commented Jordan Spieth basically had all of Jordan Spieth's career in 16 months, which is also very fair. But the gap has gotten so much tighter in the last couple months. And, you know, hearing Rory talk about Scottie, I think is a little bit of the way that Phil would talk about Tiger, which is like, I was the guy and then this guy came around and now I'm not necessarily the guy anymore. You know, Scottie is very, very close to surpassing Rory in sort of the all-time rankings, and it's just a reminder of like how quickly this all can change, because it was 5-2 not very long ago. And all the talk was Rory, and rightfully so. He had won the Players, he'd won the Masters, he'd completed the career Grand Slam, he'd won at Pebble Beach. I mean, he had 3 wins before Scottie. I don't know when Scottie won for the first time this year, but I think Rory might have had 3 wins before he got his first. Scottie's completely switched the narrative, also a little bit similar to last year, where Scottie was the guy, and then Xander comes in and wins 2 of the final 3, wins the PGA and wins the Open. So there's nothing new under the sun, as they say. Like, a lot happened before you were born, and I'm sure that there's a lot of this that's happened before, but I'm seeing some parallels.
We're gonna have a similar Player of the Year conversation, like you said, to last year, and that's gonna be a tough decision.
Well, there was an Association of Golf Writers dinner. That was where Rory wore his green jacket, where he was, and I guess they already handed that out before the final major of the year. But the Player of the Year was Rory. And I don't know that you can say that the Player of the Year is still Rory. I mean,
I also don't know that in that post-Tiger rankings that I wouldn't right now switch him and put Scottie first.
Certainly the eye test, you know, it's a conversation of body of work versus what you saw with your eyes, because Rory still has more wins, he has more worldwide wins, he still has more majors, and he's won all 4, and Scottie hasn't won all 4. But the eye test is, Rory hasn't had this stature in the game, I don't think.
I think I'm already giving Scottie the career Grand Slam though, because like I think the U.S. Open's inevitable. Like, if it doesn't happen next year, it happens the year after.
I have a lot of thoughts about that word, inevitable. It's one of my bonus thoughts. But before we get into the sort of formal parting thoughts, let's hop into a little segment, not so little, that the presenting sponsor in the show. It's Stand on Golf, presented by Knockaround. The Knockaround, presented by Knockaround. I've got the Brooklines. These are my official sunglasses of my Irish summer sojourn. You like that word?
Yes.
I was there for 12 days. I wore these basically every day. They're in fantastic condition, and I did not treat them as well as they deserve to be treated. They were thrown around a lot, and they're still kicking right on my nose here. These are my favorite. I actually played golf with the Knockaround with the CEO earlier on Friday. He was fantastic.
He was wearing the Brooklines.
He was wearing the Brooklines. These are everywhere. We got a promo code for you. If you go to knockaround.com, use promo code DanOnGolf20, you get 20% off these sunglasses. They're $35 to begin with, which is a joke of a price for how good they are. You use this promo code. They're under $30. You can buy 3 of these and still be like one half of other sunglass brands. So make a smart decision for yourself and get yourself some Knockarounds. Ryan Gerard, I'm going to hit the honesty button again. I had to look up who won the Barracuda this morning. I think this is the most forgotten PGA Tour event of the year because it's an opposite field event and everyone is on you adjust your sleep schedule to be ready for the Open, and then the Open finishes and you're like, I'm done. Well, there was a whole final round and Ryan Gerard got it done, and this was the Stableford event that Grant Horvat opted not to play in. Really nice year for Ryan Gerard so far. He was second at Valero, tied for 8th at the PGA Championship. This was the tournament that I think Nick Dunlap won for the second time last year that no one remembers. Everyone remembers when he won the American Express because we were all locked in on that, but the Barracuda played in the afternoon on the West Coast time zone after the Open Championship. So we just wanted to give our shout out to Ryan Gerard because he won a PGA Tour event yesterday. Chandler Blanchett won on the Korn Ferry Tour. This is his first one on the Korn Ferry Tour. Our guy Neil Shipley is now up to 3rd in the points. So he won his second event while we were out on our break. He is locked up mathematically, going to be on the PGA Tour next year on the big tour. So excited to see Neil, and congratulations to Chandler Blanchett. This caught my eye. So Michael Lasasso. We talked a lot about this kid. He's the reigning NCAA champion out of Ole Miss. He's got this Paul Skeens sort of country strong look with the gold chain. He's got this incredible golf swing. He has signed an endorsement deal with the Bob Does Sports guy, so he's wearing the Have a Day hat. I assume he's going to be wearing this in the Masters. What a perfect fit between a brand and a player. This guy jumps off the screen. They've been really strategic with their sponsorships. They've got Wyndham Clark's caddy. They've got another caddy out there who I can't quite remember, but they have multiple. Oh, Keegan Bradley's caddy, Scottie Vale wears the hat. Now they're crossing into players. This just makes a lot of sense. He's going to be electric in videos. Feels like a no-brainer. Moving on, it sure feels like the Open is going to be held outside the United Kingdom. So I was in Ireland playing the most amazing golf courses. The first one that we played was Portmarnock, and it seems to be kind of an open secret now that there is going to be an Open Championship at Portmarnock, which is south of the Northern Irish border. It is in the Republic of Ireland, and I think that this might be the official death of the term British Open. Because if they play an Open Championship, this one that we just played was already outside Britain, because Northern Ireland is part of the UK, but it's obviously on the Irish island. It's not on Britain, which is an island. If they have one that's not a United Kingdom, it's not British by sort of any definition.
It's the GB&I Open.
It's the Open. It's just the Open. It's just the Open. So maybe going. That's a little bit of a added bonus of going to Portmarnock is the Open branding really catches on. But I do feel like it's become the Open. I feel like British Open was a real thing when I was a kid. Maybe it's the internet has sort of shamed me out of it, but I'm very comfortable calling it the Open these days.
I think you call it the British Open until you understand why it's the Open.
Yeah, well, and if you go to Northern Ireland or Ireland, you get a crash course in the difference between the UK and Britain. So
Yeah.
it sure feels like the Open is going to be held outside the UK for the first time, which will be very, very cool. And then the PGA Tour, it sounds like, is headed back to Trump Doral. There was a report earlier this week from the GOAT, who is Josh Carpenter, obviously, that they're going to go back there for a new event. Kind of interesting timing. Won't be part of the Florida swing, so they're going to go back to Florida, I think, after New Orleans, kind of in an interesting part of the schedule. I think before the Truist, kind of after the Masters, between the Masters and the PGA, I think. But the Texas events, the Nelson and Colonial, are going to be back-to-back for the first time, which kind of makes you think, why weren't they back-to-back the whole time?
Yeah.
But, sort of a light week, but that was the Knockaround presented by Knockaround. Obviously, a lot of our attention was on the Open, and now we're gonna jump in with 2 feet to our 18 parting thoughts from the Open. And I want you to chime in whenever you have a thought here.
Gotcha.
Because it's going to be a lot of Dan talking. Number one, Phil Kenyon created a monster. He created a monster. Phil Kenyon, obviously the putting guru who works with a number of the world's top players, and most pertinent to this conversation, Scottie Scheffler. Maybe it was Rory with the suggestion of a mallet, but who whatever caused this putting transformation, and this is going to sound dramatic, but it altered the course of our sports history. So we rewind just 17 months to February of 2024. I distinctly remember having a bunch of conversations on Foreplay when I was on with Barstool at the time about what could Scottie do if he could just putt. And we ran the numbers, and we didn't mean putt good. We meant, or putt well, just putt average. How many tournaments would he win? Well, he's putting better than average now, and it's taken him to an entirely new level. And there's a very interesting dynamic here because in tennis, a coach works with one player. They work with the player that they work for. They root for the player that they work for. I know I have the Fitz clip. We're going to get to that in a second. But in golf, you got Phil Kenyon, who works with both players who were in the final group on Saturday. He works with Scottie, and he works with Matt Fitzpatrick. And it's just this very, very interesting dynamic because, you know, before 30 minutes before the tee time, you've got Matt hitting putts in front of Phil Kenyon, and you've got Scottie hitting putts in front of Phil Kenyon. You would not see the guy who's warming up Carlos Alcaraz turn around and warm up Jannik Sinner before the Wimbledon final. And here was Matt Fitzpatrick talking about that dynamic.
I mean, his putting's night and day, obviously. You know, is from what you guys all talk about, how bad it was at one point. I didn't play with him really in that period. You know, he's just not missed a putt today. There isn't one putt that he's missed, and that's obviously the difference that's taken him to this unbeatable run, which, you know, is annoying for me that Phil Kenyon shared those secrets. You know?
I mean, he's obviously joking, but I get where he's coming from. Like, it's you got a guy who, and Rory, when he suggested the mallet to Scottie, it was when he was talking on a broadcast, almost jokingly, being like, well, maybe I shouldn't say that, because if this guy does turn around his putting, we're all playing for second. And then a guy that you work with now works with this guy and has created this absolute monster. It's just a kind of a unique one.
Phil Kenyon's getting a lot of love today because of that, but I also think you got to shout out Scottie too for like making. You know how golfers are head cases,
yes,
right? And like switching from I've played a blade since forever, and like, I'm afraid to switch to them. I was putting with your lab in
you did not like it,
Ireland, and it didn't work,
yeah,
right? So that's a big mental decision for a golfer, especially one that's like, I'm 99% there.
Yeah,
you know, is this going to screw everything up? So I got to give a shout out to Scottie too for like.
Yeah, a little humility.
In it,
yeah, you have humility to be like, my putting needs work. You know, he'd only worked with Randy Smith as his only coach forever, to bring in another set of eyes. Also, you know, Randy Smith deserves credit for being cool with that and giving it his blessing, and it's made all the difference. So, number 2, Scottie's golf dominated the back half of this week, but it was his words that owned the headlines in the beginning. So, it was a pretty straightforward question, you know, about motivation. And he launched into a soliloquy. You've likely seen the clip by now, but we're going to play what I think is the most telling bit.
It only lasts a few minutes, that kind of euphoric feeling. And I like to win the Byron Nelson Championship at home. I literally worked my entire life to become good at golf, to have an opportunity to win that tournament. And you win it, you celebrate, get to hug my family, my sister's there. It's such an amazing moment. And then it's like, okay, now what are we going to eat for dinner? You know, life goes on. Is it great to be able to win tournaments and to accomplish the things I have in the game of golf? Yeah. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes just to think about, because I've literally worked my entire life to become good at this sport. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not out here to inspire the next generation of golfers. I'm not here to inspire somebody else to be the best player in the world, because what's the point? You know, this is not a fulfilling life. It's fulfilling from the sense of accomplishment, but it's not fulfilling from a sense of like the deepest, you know, places of your heart. You know, there's a lot of people that make it to.
So he said later in the answer that he wasn't really sure if he was making sense, but I don't know that the point of this was making sense. And I actually got this from you in our show on Wednesday. I think, you know, one of the reasons people go to therapy and it's just to talk about it. Mm-hmm. You know, you get all of these thoughts that are sort of dancing around your head, and they become this boogeyman. And then when you actually say them and you get them on paper, it's a little bit less scary. It takes some of the sting out of it. And I think midway through that answer, Scottie almost went into like catharsis mode, where it's like, I don't necessarily know if I'm making sense, but it's feeling better to say these things and to sort of name my emotions, because that takes a lot of the sting out of them.
Yeah, he was almost like feeding them food for follow-up questions so that he could keep getting through it himself. Like, I think that moment where he said, like, I don't even know if I'm making sense, was where it clicked that, like, yeah, he's using this as he's using us in that press room as a therapy.
Yeah, and like, there doesn't, you know, he said at the end, he was like, I've been really wrestling with on a daily basis, why do I want to win the Open Championship so badly? There doesn't have to be like a concrete answer to that question that satisfies, as he would say, like the deepest corners of your heart. Some things just are. And that's one of the takeaways that you get when you work with like these professionals, is like, some things just exist because that just is, and you don't have to necessarily find meaning with them. And I thought there was a total shift between the way he was talking on Wednesday, and then obviously, you know, once the press gets a little bit of red meat, they want to dive in, and so there were all these questions on Saturday when he already had a 4-shot lead and everyone felt like he had already won the tournament. Like, what, you know, how are you feeling going into tomorrow? And here was Scottie on Saturday night.
You're competing. I mean, this is why we work so hard, is to have opportunities like this, and I'm excited for the challenge of tomorrow. You know, winning major championships is not an easy task, and you know, I've put myself in a good position, and you know, going into tomorrow, I'm going to step there on the first tee, and I'm going to be trying to get the ball in the fairway, and then when I get to the second shot, I'm going to be trying to get that ball in the green, and there's not really too much else going on.
He succeeded, by the way, made a birdie on the first hole, but that's a very different tune, isn't it?
I think that the thing that when he says something like, I'm trying to figure out what this is all for, amid a generational run and he's a generational talent, that's scary to people like us, right?
Well, it's also scary to people like Paul McGinley. I mean, I saw Paul McGinley on Live From being like, I think he could have a more sustained, longer run than Tiger because, for as incredible as Tiger was, I don't think anyone talked about work-life balance and Tiger Woods in the same sentence. It wasn't, he was this cyborg.
Yeah.
What made him, so I think unique in the sport was this sort of one-track mind. Scottie's on the complete other end, and so it feels like it's not as emotional an experience. He doesn't carry the burden maybe that a Tiger or even a Rory does.
He has a tool that Tiger or Rory might not have had, which is that compartmentalization of work and life. Not necessarily the last hole to the next hole, which makes a great golfer, right? Compartmentalizing that, but like he really has figured out what I think all of us are trying to figure out, not just those of us who have achieved things in our life or that are trying to achieve things. Like everybody wants to find that sweet spot. Like he has actually found it.
Yeah,
he's remarkable.
He's found it. He's definitely found it. So Billy Foster, one of my favorite people to talk to in golf. Billy is a legendary caddy he's a Leeds fan. I think he's from Leeds. He's definitely from Yorkshire. He's definitely from the north of England, but he's seen it all in 40 plus years as a caddy. He's worked for Seve Ballesteros and Thomas Bjorn, Darren Clark, Lee Westwood. There's Billy as a very, very young man wearing the boss hat. That's kind of an epic picture. I hadn't seen that before.
Awesome.
And then most recently full-time with Matt Fitzpatrick, where he finally won his first major. And then he worked for Colin for 2 weeks. Looper Island keeps on spinning. We're going to get to that. They missed the cut in both, but they played alongside Scottie for the first 2 rounds. And so I sent Billy a text, and he's a straight shooter. If you've met any Yorkshiremen, they don't give people compliments just for the fun of it. And so I asked him, I just said, you've seen all the greats in person. What did you take away from watching Scottie Scheffler as he plodded his way to 10 under 132 through 36 holes at Royal Portrush? And he said, the words I said to him on the 18th green were different class and simply brilliant. His distance control is the best I've seen. And sometimes it's why Alex did such a great job of getting all that sound from other players. We can talk about how great someone is, but it hits a little bit harder if it's Tommy Fleetwood talking about how great someone is, or Rory McIlroy talking about how great someone is, or Billy Foster, who's seen it all up close. So
it's the way that people used to talk about Tiger, like frustratingly.
Yeah.
Seeing that, and we've seen like peppered, like it's not that Scottie hasn't gotten love from his contemporaries throughout the years, but now it's entering a new mode where people are like, I'm actually like dumbfounded by.
Yeah, I mean that's what Xander was like. It sucks for us when he's up there, but and you want to hate it, but it's excellence, it's greatness, and that's what I talked about this a little briefly in that social video we played off the top. I saw some people talking about, oh, this is boring. When we were at Portrush and our TV wasn't working, what did we watched? Tiger 2000.
Yeah.
Because we like watching excellence, and it was sick to watch him just stomp on these people. It's exactly what Scottie did yesterday.
I think the people that are finding this boring, I don't blame them for that being their gut reaction, but it's also like smell the roses a little bit on like you're watching a guy step up to a very long par 4 that has landmines everywhere
2 perfect
out
shots.
there, right? And he just a nice little baby cut just goes to the perfect spot, and like that's boring because it happens every time, but that it happens every time is amazing.
Yeah, he had one bad hole yesterday. He made a double bogey, bounced back with a birdie right after it. So I got one more thought on Scottie. He's earned it. I actually probably have some more, but I've got one more big one. So the golf sickos that I spoke to in Portrush this week were so excited to get a glimpse of him because the 2019 Open at Royal Portrush was the last one that Scottie didn't play in. He started playing all the majors starting in 2020. And kind of an under-the-radar thing about Scottie is he does not play around the world. He plays the Scottish and the Open, and maybe he goes to the Bahamas for Hero. But other than that, you got Tiger in his prime would go, take a bag and go play in Japan, or he would go play in Dubai. Rory's going to Australia this year. Rory's going to India this year because there's this, I want to grow the game, and I want to give, these fans the show that they want. Scottie just doesn't do that. And this whole grow the game mantra, which seems to be almost like a prerequisite for greats, right? All the greats talk about it. Tiger talks about it. Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Bryson now talks about it all the time. Scottie just doesn't give a shit. And
he says it out loud.
He says it out loud. And I'm fortunate that I live in the U.S. and that I go to a lot of these PGA Tour events, and so I get to see him play golf all the time. But unless you live in the U.S. or you're in Scotland or wherever the Open is, as of right now, you're probably not going to get to see Scottie. And I wonder if that will always be the case. I wonder if he'll always play. Because remember, this is a guy who chose not to play in a signature event with all that money because Byron Nelson was at home, and I would just rather just play a tournament that's in my backyard. And he just doesn't, to use sort of a phrase that we heard, he doesn't give a toss. That's what they say over there. And here's Jordan Spieth talking about him.
I think more so I think maybe it's less the golf swing. I think it's more of his personality. He doesn't care to be a superstar. He's not transcending the game like Tiger did. He's not bringing it to non-golf audience necessarily. He doesn't want to go do, the stuff that, a lot of us go do corporately, anything like that. He just wants to get away from the game and separate the two, because I know that he, at one time felt it was too much. He was taking it with him, and whenever he made that switch, I don't know when it was, but he has hobbies. He's always with his family. They're always doing stuff. So I think it's more so the difference in personality from any other superstar that you've seen in the modern era, and maybe any sport. I don't think anybody's like him.
I will say, though, his golf swing is also very unique, and I think it's also something that you would never teach, but also one of, his biggest weapons is how stable that club face is. That right foot sliding all over the place keeps the club face so stable. We saw him we drove it on a string this week. Drove it so good this week. But I do wonder if we look back in 10 years, Scottie's 29, if he's 39, has he gone and played, the Australian Open? Has he gone over to Dubai and done that? Or is this is just it? I'm gonna play the tournaments that make sense for me and my family, but this whole bring the green jacket to India thing, is that ever going to be for Scottie?
Think about the couple of things that drive someone to go do that, right? Like money. Appearance fee. He doesn't give a shit about that. Fame and being on a podium. He doesn't give a shit about that. And
it probably actually is annoying for him.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do that. If he goes to one of these countries and takes a massive appearance fee, he has to appear in all these sponsored videos. And
he probably feels guilt from something like that.
He's got to do all these media appearances, and he's probably just thinking about am I missing Bennett, saying a funny word for the first time.
And then he's also said, I don't necessarily am not interested in inspiring the next generation other than maybe Bennett, right?
Yeah.
So those
Bryson went and played an event in India this year.
Right. He cares because he cares about all those things.
Yeah.
He cares about money. He cares about his position in the public pantheon. And he genuinely, I think, wants to grow the game of golf everywhere. Scottie has decided that he's going to do that just with the way he plays, which I think is cool.
I don't even think it's I'm going to do it with the way he plays. I just don't think that he cares about it.
I think he's it's going to happen no matter what if I continue to be successful.
Yeah, people are talking about me. Yeah, people are talking about me. I need to go to India to make news.
Yeah. Also, I think Jordan Spieth said something really interesting there that I missed the first time I heard that clip, which is that there was a time where he didn't feel like he had balance, Scottie.
Yeah.
And I wonder what he did if he made a conscious change. And what were those changes to his lifestyle, to his method?
Well, we've talked to, when we went to Texas, we talked to Coach Fields at UT and about what he was like in college. He said he was super hot-headed. He was obviously super talented and he was a great player in college, but not we heard Bryson say, not like this. So yeah, obviously something has changed.
Faith can do something.
Yeah. So number 5, there are certain moments that just, this is my 25th major that I've covered, which I felt, quarter century. We got 75 more. Hopefully, I'm feeling good, feeling energetic. But at all these different majors, there seems to be one kind of random moment that just you don't forget. And for me, it was I was going back on Tuesday from our house, which was 25-minute walk to the course, walked back to Portrush to do a little interview, and I caught a glimpse of Rory walking by in his green jacket on the way to this Association of Golf Writers dinner, which he won the very premature. This was almost a stop the count player of the year.
Right?
We gave him player of the year and before the last major of the year, before Scottie won his second. It was very much a stop the count situation, but. So I got a glimpse of him, and then there was a bunch of Royal Portrush members who were drinking on a balcony in the clubhouse, and they saw him too, and they started chanting, "We love Rory!" And Rory gave them this wave, and you could tell from that clip that he wanted to go say hi, and he wanted to give them everything that they wanted, but he couldn't. He had somewhere to be, and it was sort of this look, I think, into Rory McIlroy's kind of existence. He said in his pre-tournament press conference that he hadn't played a Hollywood Golf Club, this made me sad, where he grew up, in 15 years. And it's not that he doesn't love that place. I mean, he's donated a bunch of money. They've got Rory McIlroy rooms. He's got somewhere to be. He's got places to be. His professional responsibilities only bring him home, once every 6 years or whatever it is when the Open is there. But this week, Rory had the light back in his eyes, and it was so great to see. And we saw it from the press conference on Monday all the way through the week. In 2019, he tried to insulate himself from all of it when he was back at Portrush. And this was a different chapter in Rory's career. The major drought had only been 5 years. Instead of being 36, he was 31, kind of squarely in his prime. There was this angst that he had at every major before he won the Masters. And he talked about how if he hadn't won the Masters earlier this year, he probably would have had a different energy showing up to Royal Portrush. But yeah, here's Rory talking about how he went about it different this week.
In 19, I probably tried to isolate. And I think it's better. I think it's better for everyone if I embrace it. I think it's better for me because I can it's nice to be able to accept adulation, even though I struggle with it at times. But it's also nice for the person that is seeing you for the first time in a few years, and so it just makes for a better interaction and not trying to hide away from it. So I think it's more of a embrace everything that's going to come my way this week, and not try to shy away from it or hide away from it, and I think that'll make for a better experience for everyone involved.
Finally seems to have accessed the "this is all gravy" mindset that we wanted him to adopt after the Masters.
Well, that everybody assumed that would click in automatically
right
after the Masters.
It would just
Maybe
be
it takes
the next day he was just going to win every tournament and not feel any sort of way. But, he didn't win the tournament. He didn't really have a legitimate chance to win the tournament, but he finished in the top 10. And in his interview afterwards, he was like, this was such a great week, and I think the fans, Rory didn't have to win to delight the fans this week. He just had to be Rory again, to have that sort of bounce in his step. And he had it. And he delighted the fans all week, especially that kind of weird magical Saturday where he does the magic trick where he hits a ball that's like hidden in the ground forever, which was bizarre. And then he eagles the 12th hole right afterwards in what he called one of the coolest moments of his career. And I don't know if it was just, a change of scenery, getting back home. I don't know if he's figured out some stuff that was bothering him, away from the golf course. Whatever it might be, it seems to be that this was the week that post-Masters swoon went in the rearview mirror. His game's in a much better spot. And again, he finally seems to have gotten this, like, I've done it all. This was a celebration. He talked about this was a celebration this week of all that I've accomplished in the game with these fans, and they were delighted. He didn't have to win to delight them. He just had to go there with a smile on his face, embrace the moment, and it was great to see the light in Rory's eyes again.
You start to worry about angsty Rory as he was hanging in there a little bit, and because we're talking about these two guys, right? And we're talking about Scottie Scheffler, who's not going to be the ambassador for the game into his 50s and 60s and like be on governing bodies and stuff. Rory is that guy. So if he becomes disillusioned with everything that's going on and he's like, fuck it, I'm tired of this stuff, like, we lose a great lifetime global ambassador for this. When you see the light back in his eyes, you're like, oh, that's
you
the guy
agree, like, you could see it, like, just even if, someone once told me that, like, a good way to tell about if someone's good on television is watch them on mute. And you get like 90% of it on mute just because of the way that someone carries themselves and if they speak with confidence. If I showed you that press conference clip on mute, you'd be like, he's smiling again. Yeah. He's got a little bit of bounce. So it was lovely to see. Absolutely. Playing Royal Portrush 4 straight days probably didn't hurt that cause. I've now covered the Open Championship at 4 different courses: Royal St. George's, St. Andrews, Royal Troon, and Royal Portrush. And I played Carnoustie. So I can't speak for the other Open venues that I haven't played to or been to, but of those 5 courses, Royal Portrush is the one that you'd most want to play, I think, and it's not close. And I think, the weather was really good this week. By the way, I was in Ireland for, I want to say 12 days, and I think it rained twice the whole time, and we had like 8 bluebird days. Meanwhile, it's pissing rain outside in LA today, right? So I kind of did the, but the scores were low, and I think a lot of that was because of no wind, but it's not the most difficult golf course in the Rota. I mean, Shane was quite deep under par when he won it as well. There were a lot of good scores this week, a lot of 65s, 66s. But it's greener because Ireland is the Emerald Isle. It's got more severe elevation changes. I think it's definitely the classic links test is sort of out, turn around, come back, but it can be a drag to walk and to play. You feel like you're just going, and if you don't like a left to right wind, tough shit. It's going to be with you for an hour and 45 minutes. Portrush is dancing all over the place. All the routings, it's all crisscross. There are these sort of incredible places like that downhill par 3 where you can see sort of the whole course. It's just the most interesting, I would say, of the Open. It doesn't have the history of a St. Andrews or Carnoustie or even the English venues. This was just, I think, its 3rd Open. But as far as like wanting to go play, it had me wanting to play.
I would say, just to back it up even more, like the town of Portrush and that golf course there, and then like the couple of peppered golf courses that are around it, like what a great existence if you just got plopped there and had to stay there. Like, we didn't get stuck, but if we got stuck, I would have
you could be a caddy at Royal Portrush and be a member of the golf course and play all these other golf, because we talked about this earlier, how the caddy existence is just so much different in Ireland than it is here in the States. So yeah, it's a cool spot. It's lovely. It's a really cool spot. Scottie didn't get to see it, which is, is a business week. But maybe he was at the Harbor Bar last night. Nope, no chance. Nope. Absolutely no chance. One of the cooler aspects, we're at number 7 now, of the U.S. Open and Open Championships are the stories that come from the qualifiers. So there are multiple routes into the tournaments. Obviously, the big boys get in having already won a major, or they're in the top, whatever it is in the world rankings. But there are 36-hole qualifiers for both, and you can also get in to both by winning some cool tournaments around the world. The Open has a pathway for a bunch of national opens. If you win the New Zealand Open, for example, you get into the Open Championship. So the guy who won the New Zealand Open this year was Ryan Peake, and this made a lot of news right when it happened. But Australian guy who was, one of the best juniors in Australia, he got involved in a biker gang. Looks like he's got a good sponsorship. I didn't see that, but he was involved in a biker gang and then spent hard time in prison. Got out, returned to pro golf with the two sleeves. You don't see that very often, playing in major championships. He missed the cut, but he shed, for him to even be there, it was a remarkable moment in his life. He said to the BBC, "I wanted to achieve better things in my life as far as I was never going to profit from being a bikie, and I didn't profit from being a bikie." He's like, "I was broke and in jail. It wasn't that tight. I enjoyed the lifestyle while I was living it, but it wasn't going to get me ahead in life, and I was just always going to fall further and further behind and probably lead to more jail. But I've had great support networks that have always helped me. And this time I took the advice that they were giving me and followed the path that they were trying to pave for me." And then there was the young Estonian, Richard Tedder. We actually ran into him.
Yeah, we saw him on the street.
We saw him in Portrush.
Like Cantley's.
Yeah, we saw him at Cantley's. I thought it was Cantley's week. It was not Cantley's week. We're going to talk about that. 20-year-old who holed a pitch shot in final qualifying to become the first Estonian to qualify for the Open. He also missed the cut, but I talked to him early in the week, and he was just having the time of his life. I saw him on Wednesday's practice round. He was playing with Ben Griffin. He was super stoked. He told me that he played the prior day with Jason Day. I was like, "How was that?" He goes, "So drippy, bro." He was just loving his outfit. He got to do this little long drive contest with Bryson DeChambeau, whom he called his favorite player of all time. And I told him, I'm in my 30s now, so I feel like I can give a little bit of wisdom to these younger players. I said, make sure you enjoy every second of this week, because there's only one first major championship start. And he looked at me and he said, "Don't worry, I'm doing it." So he's into the USAM. He's in the top 100 in the World Amateur Golf ranking, so he'll play in the US Amateur. He was telling me he spends 6 months a year in Estonia and 6 months in Spain, because he said the weather is just horrendous for 6 months of the year in Estonia. He told me there's 7 golf courses in Estonia, but all 7 of them are good. So that's, not for nothing. He's like, it's not like we have 7 and they're all shit. They're good courses. So maybe I'll have to go up to Estonia.
I like that kid.
Keep an eye on Richard Tedder. Yeah, he had a real haircut for the week, a little drop fade.
He's giving me like Minwoo Lee vibes.
Yes. Well, I think the haircut probably goes a long way,
like
but also long and stringy and young and sort of, understand, like he loves Bryson.
He was
obviously
bopping around that town.
He was bopping around. Saw him a lot this week. So this is an interesting one. On Monday's episode, I dove into the wild handicap discrepancies between Americans and Brits/Irishmen. A 3 handicap overseas, a scratch in the U.S. It's always been a thing. I got an up-close and personal look as to why when I was playing through Ireland. There's 2 reasons. Number one, in the UK and Ireland, golfers play stroke play competitions all the time. So, you're playing a match play in the U.S. It's 2 against 2. Your buddy's in for par. You might have a 5-footer for bogey, and there's this like obsession with pace of play in the U.S. Maybe because we're too slow from tee to green. But it's almost like if you want to play ball and hole, you're viewed as like a weird hardo. It's like a hardo mover. That's just the standard in the UK. And if you're playing, if that's going to make you play too slow, then you just have to play faster. That's part of the game. And there was this comment on the post about that I will never forget as long as I live. And someone said, I need to look through who gave this comment, because I might have it printed and carry it with me on the golf course. And the comment was this: I've never really, this is not the comment, but I'll read this one first. This is about the course rankings and why the course rankings are so different. This is another reason why the handicaps are not comparable, is because this was David O'Donnell sent this. He said, "Hi Dan, just saw your video re-slope and course ratings in the UK, because the courses, I played Portmarnock from 6,800 yards and I played Brentwood Country Club from 6,800 yards, and Brentwood Country Club is rated harder." And it's just like, it's okay.
And it is not.
I know what I saw. He said, "A lot of it's based off landing zones in the fairways, as well as length of greens, rough, and fairways. A male scratch golfer is deemed to hit the ball 250 yards, a bogey male golfer 200, a female scratch golfer 200, a female bogey 150. So if the course doesn't have many hazards or bunker in play off the tee boxes at those yardages, it generally isn't rated that badly. Average wind speed and weather isn't taken into account." That's the kicker right there. I guess there is a mechanism for, it's called playing conditions. If you look at your gin and you turn in a score and it's like a super windy day and all of the scores that come in are higher than average, they might like take a stroke off, but it's not doing enough. It's absolutely not doing enough. So the courses, there's something's going on with the ratings. Maybe we need to rank them for, it is windy because it's windy like every single day. But the other thing about no gimmies, and this is the comment that I wanted to bring in, is someone said, I never really understood the logic of you're playing a sport where there's a hole, a tiny little hole, and it's 450 yards away, and there's bunkers, and there's water, and there's all this stuff, and you work so hard to play that hole, and then right when you're about to knock it into the hole, you just pick it up.
Yeah, it's like the true, like...
It just doesn't really check out from a logic perspective, and I'm out on gimmies. We played golf on Friday, and I'm out on breakfast balls, and I'm out on all of it. I'm playing ball and hole, and I'm playing real golf, and I'm not shitting on anyone who doesn't want to do that. Everyone's in, like, golf is for everybody. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do, but I can tell you that I'm a ball and hole guy now. I feel like now when I shoot a score, I can say it with my chest. And I wasn't like an egregious guy before who was picking up 6-footers for bogey or whatever it was. But like you're playing a match play round and someone's like, that's good. Or you hit one off the first and it's in the trees and like, oh, I'll take another one. It takes a strong man to be like, I'm actually going to not do that and not to be a dick about it. And I'm going to try not to be a dick about it. But I don't know. I feel like I'm out there, I'm playing golf. I have an appreciation for golf now that I didn't when I was younger because I know that it's fun for me. It's supposed to be fun. My job is talking about golf. It is not playing golf. When I'm playing golf, there's this ego piece that I have with, and I think a lot of Americans have with their handicaps, and I want to shoot what I shoot so that I can say it with my chest. And this parting thought made me think of our segment called Charting Your Own Course, which is brought to you by our friends at Bushmills Irish Whiskey. And I will never forget Bushmills or Ireland because something changed within me where I'm a ball and hole guy now. It's the world's most awarded Irish single malt. Their whiskey has been recognized by experts around the world. And this is where I get to share my stories from tour events, interviews, interactions with fans and players, just like I experienced last week on my trip to the Open Championship. But it's really my trip to the Irish Links. I'm done taking gimmies. I'm putting them all out.
Charting your own course.
Here I am charting my own course. This is a 4-footer. This would have been my 6th birdie of the day at Lahinch. The match was already over. I don't remember, but someone might have said you can pick that up. And I said, absolutely not. It's for birdie. I'm putting this.
It's your right as a golfer.
It's my right as a golfer to finish. And it's my right as a golfer. It's the most satisfying stroke you take is the last one. I'm telling you. There were only probably 2... because the first day I did this like in earnest was when I played with you on Friday. There were probably only 2 putts that were like between that sort of 2 to 4 feet range where they probably would have been given before, but I actually had to mark them. Usually it's either like so close you can back it in, or it's like you have 6 feet and that was never going to be a gimme anyway. So there were only 2 putts that I had to like actually putt that maybe I wouldn't have before, but I made them both.
Yeah.
And I felt good about it. And I think I'm a no gimmies guy, Ben.
I tried to play ball and hole, but Lalo kept hitting my ball back to me. I was tapping in for par.
Stupid Lalo. No, Lalo's the best. But no, I mean, it's everyone has their own relationship with this game, and this might not be forever, but for right now, after I played in Ireland and after I felt like, my handicap was maybe not as legit as it could have been, and I'm playing this tournament coming up, and I'm gonna have to play ball and hole, and I just don't want to. Why not just play every round by the rules of golf? And it's a 450-yard hole, and I'm going to knock that sucker. I want to hear it rattle.
What have we been saying every time you, like, tap in?
So I want to hear that bitch rattle.
I'm going to get so much tougher now. I'm tough.
I got hair on my chest. It's toughening us up. So I want to hear that bitch rattle. That's what I kept saying when you hit it to 1 foot. I said, I want to hear that bitch rattle the back, the bottom of the cup. So a huge shout-out to Bushmills Irish Whiskey for making the Charting Your Own Course experience possible. Bushmills, made in Ireland at the first licensed whiskey distillery in the world. Bushmills was also right next to Portrush.
It's on Bushmills Road.
It's on Bushmills Road. So cheers to all of us from Bushmills Irish Whiskey. What a great Irish experience I had. And yeah, no gimmies for Dan. No gimmies for Dan coming up. Okay, number 9. I struggled a lot with my game on the Irish Links. We talked about this. We're going to talk to Lou Stagner in a bit from Arcos here, kind of dive through the numbers. I only broke 80 twice in 8 rounds, which is not good. And I kept trying to hit the perfect shot, to flight down irons and shape shots into the wind. Bryson was talking about, I'm not going to ride the wind. I'm going to draw it into the wind. And I spend way too much time around the best players in the world, and you start to think that maybe you're one of them. And I'm not. I am definitely not. And the links got in my head. And the more I pressed, the more it got away from me until, of course, I let go. On the last 5 holes of the trip, we played whatever 8 times 18 is. 8 times, that's a 4, carry the 1. We played a lot of holes, 72 times 2, 144 holes. I got there. And the last 5, I felt like I finally let go a little bit and played them like even par and hit some really good shots coming down the stretch. And then Brian Harmon, who knows a thing or two about playing links golf, he had this to say, and this is another one that I won't forget. When you're playing links golf, you have to take your hands off the steering wheel. And that takes humility, right? You have to, they asked Bryson, how are you adjusting this? He said, take everything that in the US and throw it out. You got 170 yards to a pin. You might think, oh, I can get my 7-iron there. Well, it might be playing 210, or you got 170 yards from the rough, and you might have to hit a sand wedge because it's a fly or lie out of there, and it's really firm, and you just kind of have to take your hands off the steering wheel and let what will be. And I was not really able to do that. But I feel like now, if I get to go back to Ireland, which I really want to go, I had a bunch of messages from people being like, you should have played this course and that course and that course. I would have loved to. Maybe we're gonna have to run it back. I don't know, but I feel like now I'll go out there with keep your hands off the steering wheel. Just let what will be. So we talked about Bryson, and our dog of the week this week is Bryson DeChambeau. Showed a ton this week. I was very curious to see how he'd fare, because in the past he'd struggled in the Open, and the internet was very quick to dunk on him after he shot 78 on Thursday, no birdies. He then proceeded to shoot 16 under 197, which was the second lowest final 3 rounds in the Open ever. Only Henrik Stenson, when he set all those records in 2016, shot a lower final 54-hole score. Vaulted up the leaderboard, and yes, this wasn't a proper Open Championship weather. He still sort of struggles in the wind, but this was absolutely a breakthrough. And here's Bryson talking about his turnaround.
What do you tell yourself last night when the breaks don't go your way?
I want to go home. But I woke up this morning. I said, you know what? I can't give up. My dad always told me never to give up. Just got to keep going, and that's what I did today. And I was proud of the way I fought back. Really, really persevered through some emotionally difficult moments, and to hold myself together and not get pissed and slam clubs and throw things and all that. Like I wanted to. Like I was very proud of myself.
Yeah, he showed me a lot this week, and Keegan Bradley confirmed in a text message to Sports Illustrated last night that Bryson's going to be on the team, which I think is no surprise. Yeah. Bryson was talking about how Keegan left a really inspiring note or message in his locker. So really excited to watch Bryson at Bethpage Black. He showed a ton this week. Really booked his place, I feel like. I mean, we knew he was going to be on the team, but I feel better about it now. Oh, yeah. If he had missed the cut this week and shot 78, 75, and you're like, oh, this guy can't play, and he showed a lot with being able to bounce back and make those adjustments and shoot 3 really good scores in a row in the Open Championship.
If we're judging Ryder Cup potential people on their major season, you can't ignore him. Like
if there was a major at Bethpage next week, Bryson would probably be like number 2 in the power rankings. Obviously, you'd have Scottie number 1, but like as far as course fit, as it's going to be big, it's going to be hard. The crowds, he's going to bring a mega crowd on his side.
Yeah, he's got an advantage there.
He's got a big time advantage, and we're going to make some Ryder Cup selections in a bit here. But first, we are going to hop into this Arccos segment. I've been working with Arccos because I told you guys I've got a mid-am qualifier 1 week from today, which is alarming based on the state of my game. And I told you guys I actually brought one today. So this Arccos, basically you install these devices into your clubs, and then it automatically tracks your round. So you don't have to bring your phone out, which for me was a big deal. Like I don't want to be on my phone when I'm playing golf. And they have this incredible thing, this Link Pro right here, where you take this thing out, you charge it once, it holds charge for like 12 different rounds in a row. Oh, wow. And then you just put it on your hip, and all you have to do is go stand by the pin and press this button here, and then it automatically saves where the pin is, and then it just tracks everything in the background without you having even to think about it.
And this isn't like I played golf with you on Friday and like didn't notice that you were doing this. It's not like disruptive to the game.
That's what was the biggest thing for me, is like when Arccos, when we first started talking about this, because I like data. I know all about how much like data can help golfers, but it was I don't want to be on my phone every time I'm playing. And they said you don't have to be. And they said we have this amazing device, this little device here, where you don't have to carry around your phone like the other apps. So I've been tracking my rounds. I tracked them all throughout Ireland. I've tracked them, at home at Brentwood when I've been playing. And we've got my actual data here. So I wanted to bring in Lou Stagner, who is a stats guru. He's going to help me prep a little bit. I understand he's not going to like what he sees because I did not play very good golf. But in my defense, it was full links golf, which I did not have, a ton of experience playing, and so different from what I play on a normal basis. So Lou, do I still learn stuff from that, or do I kind of toss it off to the side as it's so different?
No, I think we're going to learn plenty of stuff. And some of the things that I saw, I also see when I just focus in on your rounds at your home course.
Okay.
So it's consistent no matter where you were playing. So we'll get into it. We're going to help you get ready for that mid-am.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing first and foremost is my putting is really struggling. I struggled with this a lot in Ireland because there was a lot of putting from off the green and my speed just wasn't good. What are you seeing in the numbers?
Yeah, definitely putting is by far your biggest weakness. Compared to a scratch, you're losing just over 2 shots per round with your putting. And really struggling from inside 10 feet, really struggling from inside 10 feet. And typically players at your skill level, when they're struggling inside of 10 feet, it's typically not going to be start line. I'm guessing you hit start line pretty well. It typically is going to be green reading. So inside of 10 feet, really tough area for you. And lag putting, really tough area for you. Both things I'd tell you to work on all week this week.
Yeah, this week is going to be a big prep week. It was interesting. Andy was asking me if I was drawing my irons, and you were spot on about that. So what were you able to see from the data that just showed you something that maybe you wanted to get some clarification on?
Yeah, so I was talking with your producer, and one of the things that stood out to me is how you were performing to pins that are on the left-hand side. And you're short-siding it quite a bit to left-handed pins with a lot of big misses. And oftentimes what happens there is if amateurs tend to hit a certain shot shape, they tend to get more aggressive when the pin is on the left. If you hit a draw,
you get excited.
And they tend to get more, you get excited. You're like, this one sets up really nice for me. I'm going to go for this one. And you short side it a little bit too much. And that just really is challenging to play from the short side.
So how do you practice green reading?
Well, one, you get to bring a caddy with you. So I would tell you,
get a good caddy.
I would tell you, get a good caddy that can read greens. 2, if you've never tried aim point, I would tell you give it a shot.
Yeah.
3, like if you use green books, I looked at where you're qualifying and they have a link there for the Strakaline book. I would tell you to get a Strakaline book and start to learn how to understand how to read those greens and what it means and how to adjust. Like that's at your level, you hit start lines all day. It's mostly going to be about green reading because I'm guessing your speed from inside 10 feet is pretty good. You don't leave too many short. You're not hitting too many 5 feet by. You're probably misreading a lot of greens.
So how do we approach this from a statistical standpoint? We only have a week left, and you drop something there about not getting too aggressive to sort of like a left pin just because you feel like it fits your shot shape. A guy who doesn't play a ton of tournament stroke play rounds, what would be sort of your 30,000 foot approach to a 1-round qualifier? Which again, this is not my job. This is fun. We're gonna have fun on Monday. If I don't make it, we're still gonna do the show the Monday after. But what should be sort of my mindset going in?
Well, I would say that you're a really good ball striker. So you're really solid off the tee. You hit it long enough. You keep it in play, and you hit it relatively straight. So driver is a strength.
Yeah.
And your iron play is, while we're talking about short-siding it a bit too much, your iron play overall is pretty strong. So those are not things you really need to work on, which is fantastic. I would tell you over the next week, I would be grinding on putting and short game. And short game, a little bit of a nuance there, but this holds true no matter how I look at it. So you short side yourself maybe a little bit too much, which makes short game a little bit tougher, right? Not all 15-yard shots are created equal. If you're short-sided, it's tougher. But when you're long-sided, you're still not performing as well as you should given your skill level. So if I were you, I would be working mostly on putting and short game this week to get ready. And I would be doing a little bit of maintenance on my full swing, but I'd be trying to dial in putting and short game all week.
So how cool is this that I get this sort of level of insights from a guy like Lou, who's worked with, tour pros and everybody else. And it's all because of this thing that literally took me 10 minutes to install on my golf clubs, and then this link thing here. And if you're serious about your game, like you almost have to do this.
I mean, what's amazing to me is that I'm the qualitative data over here, like playing golf with you, not knowing shit about your stats and like everything.
You always tell me how good of a putter I am.
Well, that's
so. This is the numbers. You think that the numbers are always going to be really obvious, and I'm sure Luke can speak to this. I'm sure you've worked with pros who are like, I feel like I'm doing this, and you see something, and you're like, well, numbers don't lie.
Well, so I say this all the time. Numbers don't lie, but sometimes they surprise you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have confirmation bias, right? So you make an 8-foot putt in a critical situation, and your buddies will tell you, "Oh, you're the best putter. You never miss," when you probably miss a lot. And not having the actual black and white of the stats can be pretty misleading. It happens to players at every single level. They get something in their head that they think they're either really good at or really bad at, and the opposite is true. And that's why having the numbers really helps you to dial in what's working for you. Like, we're not trying to fix everything. We're trying to fix the right thing to get you ready for this qualifier.
Absolutely. I want to thank Lou for coming on. And if you guys are smarter or serious about playing smarter, this is the move. Arccos is giving you a free set of smart sensors, which I have on all my golf clubs, plus a 45-day trial of the app. And you can try this Link Pro for free so you can see your own numbers and get this sort of information just like this. Click the link in our bio to get started today. And again, my biggest selling point for this, you don't have to be on your phone, because who likes a guy who's on his phone during the entire round? You don't have to be that guy, and you can still get all the information. Thank you so much, Lou. We'll be in touch very shortly. Only 1 week left.
Good luck, Dan.
I appreciate it. All right, Ben.
Yeah.
Raymond was not impressed. Our colleague, Golf Projects, who does a lot of the style content for Scratch, he was not impressed this week.
I was not either.
He thought that the outfits, the sartorial choices for the final major of the year were rather underwhelming. Do you agree?
I agree. In gathering this week's best and worst dressed, I actually went through way more pages of Getty than I normally do.
Do you think that that's because, all these companies think of the Masters as like, okay, we're going to debut our new thing at the Masters, right? I feel like, wasn't it when Cameron Smith was wearing like the suit? It's almost like Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And it's like, and now we're in the 4th major of the year, and they've kind of, they've just kind of blown their load a little bit. You know what I mean? All the good stuff's already out there.
The weather didn't turn up like we thought it would for the Open, like it normally does. And honestly, like inclement weather brings out the best fits, in my opinion. So we had too much bluebird sky for the really good fit. But there were some stars. There were some negatives, but I want to start with the positive.
Let's start.
Ricky Fowler really showed up this week. And talking about debuting in Fashion Week, this is the collaboration with Reigning Champ, which is like...
I love Reigning Champ. I always, like, as far as basics go, like T-shirts, hoodies, really high-quality, thick materials.
So Puma's done a few collabs with them, and Ricky... he wore 2 looks this week, at least, from this. The second one was my favorite.
That's a fresh shirt.
I love this shirt. You don't see a lot of these like slate gray pants on tour anymore. It's just really well put together there. Rick is coming into his own as an adult. I think he's much better dressed in this era than he was like when he came on the scene and he had the Bieber hair and the flat brims and stuff like
People are allowed to grow up. I look at some of this. I look at the stuff I wore not very long ago and I cringe. So
Same. So I'm proud of Ricky for he's at the top of the list this week.
Okay, nice. Ricky Fowler, number 1.
Usually number 1 is Jason Day, but he'll be number 2 this week. This is what we wanted more of.
It's iconic.
We want more rain, we want more wind, like we want more embracing of the Irish Isle and the region. This was great, but his second look actually was my favorite of the week. Look at this gentleman in the white pants.
Yeah, it's it almost looks like the strap that they give you for inside the ropes.
I was going to say,
you have to
like
put
a soccer referee almost.
Yes,
like
yes,
thing on his
or the captain. The captain in soccer wears the armband.
Day has become ubiquitous for big fits, like wide silhouettes, and this is a nice fitted long sleeve polo shirt. It was a nice switch up for him. He looks great. Next up, Tommy Fleetwood, and I put him on the list because he just looks like me when I go out there playing golf.
He does look like you.
He's just like wearing a sweatshirt with, he's got the collar underneath.
He might be the comfiest player in the field.
Right? I have those exact shoes actually now that I'm thinking about it. But like dad hat, sweatshirt, just some like 5-pocket pant, which I'm usually not about, but they're fitting him well. Like he just looks comfy.
You know what I'll give credit to Nike for is, and I think Adidas is mostly the same way, they don't tolerate like a ton of logos on their clothes. Like if you're a Nike guy, like you're not going to see, Scottie doesn't have any other logos on his clothes, and it lends itself to this like really sort of clean look. And also, like you said, you wouldn't be saying that he looks like you if he had 27 different, insurance companies logoed on his shirt. So, and we saw Bennett Scheffler. I don't know if he made the list, but Bennett Scheffler had quite the Nike fit on.
Bennett Scheffler could have made the list. I usually get mad when I don't put pro golfers on these lists, so I try to keep those.
Okay, fair enough.
Iona Steven I saw a Getty image and she looked awesome. She had this great outfit on, and I was like, she's not a pro golfer. I can't put it in there. But shout out to Iona. All right, let's move on. Next guy, we don't see him on this list a lot, but we may moving forward because Lacoste is officially back with Antoine Rosner. I don't think if I'm pronouncing his name right.
You are.
Man, the Lacoste hoodie, lightweight hoodie, plus beanie life going on here. And then the next,
he's got a nice beard too.
Nice beard.
You know, he's pulling off that look nicely. He's got a little bit of an Oscar Isaac look going on.
It just looks.
You know who that is?
European. Oh yeah, Oscar Isaac's great. I like this striped shirt under this tan Rappaport. Just seeing the Gator back out there just makes me excited. They're going to make it on the list no matter what.
Lacoste, okay.
Yeah. Next up, Thomas Dietrich.
He was everywhere. Did you go into the merchandise tent?
No.
It was like Thomas Dietrich show.
Really?
Well, because I think Hugo Boss is like the official outfitter. So, and I don't know if he's like their only guy, but he was all over that tent.
He's not. I mean, and he's wearing one of their zipper polos here, which I think deserves to have a major comeback in our sport. Like, not enough zipper front polos happening, too many buttons. But I liked his like Merlot sort of pants here. I forget what I called them earlier to Andy.
Those are Merlot?
But they're like,
wow, I'm so colorblind.
Like a wine that's got some ice in it.
Cabernet, maybe?
Yeah, no, maybe like a Lambrusco.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow, you're getting really trendy.
He pulls
here.
him off. I think he's Belgian, right? Like
he is Belgian.
He's
Belgian by way of Champaign, Illinois, University of Illinois. Same as Thomas Peters. Same as Adrien Dumont de Chasseur. There is a
funnel there.
There is a big time funnel from the shores of Belgium to Champaign, Illinois.
So yeah, he put these two things together well here that I like individually. And then honorable mention, I want to shout out the legend, Darren Clark, showed up wearing the FootJoy Harris Tweed collaboration. You can see on the heels of his shoes here, he's got a little woolen situation. Really nice touch from somebody that.
That is a nice touch. Yeah, a little bit of fabric.
Yeah.
On the back of the shoe.
More fabric never hurt anybody.
So that's it.
Let's move on to the bad guys.
Oh, we have bad too.
We have a couple of bad guys.
I thought we were just best. I like when we get worse.
I just gotta call out the usual suspects here until they change their ways.
Bryson.
No.
Close. He wore his uniform. You didn't the navy blue Reebok with the gray pants.
I like the Crushers uniform is among the better Live uniforms. I think it's actually the guys not wearing their uniforms from Live that have been creating these sins. Let's pull up our first guy, the usual suspects here, John Rahm, and these purple pants that.
Those are purple?
Yeah.
I'm having a really bad colorblind day.
This is a tough one for you, but.
Those are purple, dog?
Dietrich's pants are a completely different shade of purple than these. These are more like a plum or like a, actually not plum. Plum's a little bit darker, but they're like too bright. And then he's got this sky blue shirt, like Bluebird Days out there. It's just floating head John Rahm. He's on a streak of wearing some pretty egregious, loud outfits that aren't necessarily working for him. I think Rahm looks better when he goes all solid colors. I like when he wears the red shirt on Sunday, like the off red. It looks really good on him, but man, this has been tough. And sadly, you know, the clothing sponsor that's a through line here through the worst dress is Grayson, who makes really, really great clothes. But for some reason on Rahm, and now you'll see on Tyrrell Hatton, they just put these like really loud, aggressive fits.
Are those birds?
Those are wolves.
That looks like you know the Alfred Hitchcock birds.
It does.
Looks a bit like that.
Well, it is a bit of a horror, so that makes a lot of sense. Tyrrell was on a bad streak this week. I just picked this one because like. It's like the ironic wolf T-shirt of golf shirts here. Grayson has, again, I'll reiterate, Grayson has such great clothing. I just wish they would script these Live guys better during these tournaments. I don't know why it is. And I think we have one more here for the Hall of Shame.
Oh, feels like an anti-Live bias.
Whack Don. It does. But like, they're making these guys wear
silly clothes.
I mean, and Sergio makes choices, right? Like he's been wearing this kind of same outfit to every tournament.
Ronald McDonald vibe.
Looks like the Jafar toy in a Happy Meal. Just do something else, Sergio. Like look at some of those old Adidas fits he wore when he was younger. And then here's Matt Wallace, my last Jay Lindbergh victim here. Victor Hovland also had to wear this shirt, but I spared him because he praised my swing. We're gonna throw Matt Wallace up here. Like it's drawing attention to the wrong places here.
Saw a couple Scoopy Fade comments this week.
Yeah, that's nice. It's resonating though.
It's nice. It's resonating. Okay, so not a great week.
Not a great week. The best were pretty good. The worst were really bad. We know the next big tournament is a uniform one. So
yeah.
Let's see what the Ryder Cup uniforms look like.
Is it RLX again?
It's usually RL and Loro Piana, if I remember correctly.
Oh, the Europeans go real fancy.
Europeans go real fancy, but they don't do like quiet luxury uniforms. They're just like really well-made golf uniforms.
Okay.
Push it this year, guys. That's
Push it. Message. All right. I like it. You said not a great week fashion-wise. You know who else didn't have a great week? Colin Morikawa. He's still going to make the team. I think he's accomplished enough and been consistent enough throughout the years, and he's been very, very good in match play. But I was reading he posted on Instagram. He said, sometimes you feel like you're out there alone, but I know I've got the best team and family behind me. Just a little bump in the road these past couple of weeks. Time to reset these 2 weeks off and get the mind and body where it needs to be. Let's make a big push in the playoffs. So he missed the cut in both the Scottish Open and this week at the Open. He has just one top 10 in his last 11 major starts, which this is a guy who was living in the top 10 in majors before that, and he looked entirely out of sorts both weeks. His caddy situation remains a question mark. The 2-week stint with Billy Foster was A, always temporary, and B, not a very successful one. We've had him in the lock column for the entire year for the Ryder Cup, but he's going through a really rough patch at the worst possible time. The game is not where it was, and he's had some sort of kerfuffles with the media, so Colin's a little bit on the struggle bus. But again, I will say, gun to my head, I still think he makes the team. I'm not sure I can say the same for Patrick Cantlay right now, who just finished up a totally lost year in the majors. He finished tied for 36 at the Masters, which we've talked about. Making the cut in the Masters is like the bare minimum. You're playing against a bunch of old timers. It's a small field. You're playing against a bunch of amateurs. I'm just making the cut in the Masters and finishing T36. It's just not a T36 in the U.S. Open. Then he missed the cut in the PGA, missed the cut in the U.S. Open, missed the cut again in the Open Championship. He was excellent in last year's President's Cup, and he showed obviously some serious fire with the whole Hatgate situation. And the advanced metrics remain high on him because he's so consistent in the non-majors. But he was terrible in the big events this year. And, it must be said that the blue chip Americans, a lot of them, not named Scottie Scheffler, are just not playing as well as the blue chip Europeans. So just as Patrick Cantlay starts to waver, we've got enter Chris Gotterup of New Jersey. So the Scottish Open champion wasn't even in the field of the Open until he won. And he was trending well before he took down Rory McIlroy at Renaissance Club. And he followed it up this week with a very, very strong showing in his first Open. And he feels, Chad Mumm, our coworker, was saying he feels like he was made in a lab for Bethpage. He's got a certain swagger to him. A little bit of the New Jersey, with the choker chain going on. He plays a big boy brand of golf. His driver is his biggest weapon, and he'd bring a sort of youthful energy to Bethpage. And I think, he's bridge and tunnel, as they say in New York, as it being from New Jersey and being kind of more from the shore than northern New Jersey. But I think the New Yorkers would adopt him as one of their own. And I think he's got everything to play for in the FedEx Cup playoffs because he's absolutely in the picture for the Ryder Cup. And speaking of the Ryder Cup, we did get some Ryder Cup clarity this week. It felt like on the U.S. side, Russell Henley and Harris English locked up their positions. So did, in my estimation, Matt Fitzpatrick. Made the cut in all 4 majors, finished in the top, I think it was top 5 this week, finished in the top 5 also at the Scottish Open. And informed Fitz to fill out the back end of an already really strong European lineup is exactly what Luke Donald would have wanted. So we're going to make some picks now. I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to go back and forth, and we're going to pick all 12 if the Ryder Cup were tomorrow. And I'm going to talk about who's a lock and who is still not a lock. We will start with the lock of all locks on the U.S. side, Scottie Scheffler. Don't really feel like I need to say anything else here. Won 50% of the majors. He's won 12 tournaments in the last 16 months, including 3 out of the 4 majors and a gold medal. So, yeah, he's on our team. Europe, Rory McIlroy obviously nailed on there. He is first in the standings, mathematically already clinched it. So Rory will be there. On the U.S. side, number 2, we're going Bryson DeChambeau. Like we said, showed a lot this week and felt like really broke through in links golf in a way that maybe he hadn't before, and a really strong showing. I believe top 10s in 3 of the 4 majors this year. I want to say maybe he was in the mix sort of in 3 of the 4 majors this year, and obviously his game feels absolutely perfect for Bethpage. So Bryson's number 2. Number 2 on the European side, we got Tyrrell Hatton. Had an amazing major season. Had his first real chance to win a major at Oakmont. Got a horrible break on the 70th or 71st hole and kind of unraveled there. But another good showing this week, and he talked about how much pride he's taken in being able to stay in the auto points. He won a European Tour event late last year, or maybe it was early this year, but he's managed to keep grabbing points, to keep his stature in the game despite going to live golf. Number 3 for the U.S. is Xander Schauffele. Good week this week. Another really strong finish in a major championship. Obviously not the same major season that it was a couple last year when he won 2 out of the final 3. He won the PGA and the Open, which is exactly what Scottie won this time around. But Xander will be there. Number 3 on the European side, Jon Rahm. He was my pick to win this week. I was disappointed. He was never really a factor this week, but much better major season than last year. Has been so consistent on LIV. He's an absolute lock. Everybody's lock so far. I'll tell you with the first person who's not a lock. The next lock on the U.S. side is Russell Henley. He missed the cut in the first 2 majors of the year, and he panicked a little bit and parted with Mark Blackburn. And we're going to talk about Mark Blackburn in a second here, because he's really helped Matt Fitzpatrick get back to his form. But he had a good U.S. Open. He's been really solid in the signature events. Obviously won at Bay Hill earlier this year, and also just feels like a guy that you compare with anybody, especially in foursomes. A really solid player. Russell Henley will be there. Our next lock on the European side is Tommy Fleetwood. Another guy who was sort of a trendy pick coming into this week. Obviously had that heartbreak at the Travelers, but advanced metrics wise, there are hardly any players who are as consistent on a week-to-week basis as Tommy Fleetwood, and his history in the Ryder Cup, going back to Mollywood with Francesco Molinari. And I remember he hit that incredible shot to seal a match on the drivable par 4 in Italy. So Tommy will be there. JJ Spawn is going to be there. He's the United States Open champion. I think he's going to bring a sort of everyman attitude to the U.S. team. I think people are really going to get behind him at Bethpage, kind of a people's golfer with his background. And this was his first Open that he ever played in this week, which was kind of amazing.
That's what. How'd he finish?
He made the cut for sure. Yeah, you tell me. I want to say he finished. Let's see. JJ Spawn in the Open finished tied for 23rd. So
not bad.
Yeah, shot three under for his last round. Finished at 6 under. So he will be there. Our next lock on the European side is Ludwig Åberg. Also had a bit of a better week after missing the cut in the 2 majors between the Masters and the Open Championship. He missed the cut at the PGA, missed the cut at the U.S. Open. Also finished tied for 23rd. Has not been the year that a lot of us were expecting out of Ludwig, but he'll be there. Justin Thomas, still a lock on the U.S. side, made the cut this week in the Open. Also not a very good year in the majors. He went T36 just like Cantlay in the Masters, then missed the cut in the Open, or in the PGA and the U.S. Open. Successfully made the cut. He's been as good as anybody almost in the signature events, and I just think he got the pick last year when he was playing far worse than he is, or last time than he was playing far worse than he is this time. Our next lock on the European side, Victor Hovland, got a win this year. Just a core young member of this team, kind of the newer generation. He's still in his 20s. He's going to be here for the next couple of these. Victor Hovland is a lock. I've got Harris English now as a lock. Another runner-up finish in a major championship. That's 2 this year. He finished runner-up at Quail Hollow as well, and his golf swing, and that's going to be what we're going to talk about. I love his golf swing so much.
That's a sneaky lock too. I mean,
he's a lock.
He's to see that guy come through.
Yeah, he's become a lock. He was the oldest player, kind of the elder statesman on the team at Whistling Straits, and I remember he was like 34. I think he's probably more closer in his upper 30s now. So he might once again be the oldest player. It's definitely possible, but I'm giving Harris a lock. Our next lock on the European side is Sepp Straka. 2 wins this year, made the cut. He had missed the cut in the first 3 majors of the year, so you never want to go for the Grand Slam that you don't want. Successfully made it this week. Didn't push up the board or anything, but I think 2 wins, winning a signature event, he's just elevated himself to the next level. He's been kind of in the top 10 of the FedEx Cup all year. He's been hanging around the top 10 in the world rankings, so I think Sepp is a lock. Our last lock for the American side is Colin Morikawa. And I know he hasn't necessarily earned it with his play this year, but I just think he's going to be on the team. I think his resume, he's done enough. There are a couple more locks on the European side. One more is Shane Lowry. Shane did not have the best major season. He was kind of in the mix at the Masters before he shot 81 and then missed the cut in the PGA and the U.S. Open. He made the weekend, obviously had that penalty, which we're going to talk about, but I think he's one of the heart and souls in the team room. I think everyone wants him there. He brings a passion and a fire and an energy, and it's also going to be very, very entertaining to watch him because he is one of the most emotional players out there. Feels like every week, he's saying, screw this place, or he's got some sort of issue with something the media said. Like, there's just a lot that's been going on in the Shane Lowry universe this year, and I think that's all going to be put on steroids in New York. Okay, we're done with the locks on the American side. I've got Ben Griffin in there. He's losing a little bit of steam, missed the cut this week, but he's been really, really consistent all year in big events, and he had top 10s in the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship. So it's not just like he's done it in these sort of rinky-dink fields. He's done it against, he finished second to Scottie at the Memorial, and just sort of has a like we've talked about, a new energy and a new swagger. It feels like
it with swagger too.
It feels like he believes he should be on this team, and I think if it were tomorrow, I think he would get a pick. We've got 2 more locks on the European side. Robert McIntyre, another strong week. He's been really, really good against big fields. Finished solo second to JJ Spawn at the U.S. Open. He's played in the Ryder Cup before, but sort of as a back part of the lineup guy, one of the last guys in. Maybe would play 3 matches. I can see him playing 4 or 5. I think he loves the big moments. We saw him win 2 massive events with a lot of emotional undertones, winning the Scottish Open and winning the Canadian Open. And let's see what Robert McIntyre thinks about that pick. There he is. He likes it. There he is, back to clapping. Back to woo! Wow! He's fired up that he's made the Ryder. Can you believe it? Dan Rappaport picked me to be on the Ryder Cup. What a moment in my career! All right, our next guy on the American side is Keegan Bradley. Something's changed with Keegan. Mm-hmm. Something changed when he won the Travelers. He said, I was never going to be on this team until I won. And then he said, because initially he was saying, I don't know if I can do both. It's just there's so much. No one hasn't done this. No one's done this since Arnold Palmer. Now I've got these amazing vice captains, and I kind of know what it would look like. And I found this little interaction from one of his press conferences rather telling. Here's Keegan Bradley.
Have you signed the captain's agreement?
What? That's a strange question. Why?
Well, because if in fact you became a playing captain, I would think that you'd want to have the agreement to have certain things in it that maybe it wouldn't normally have if you weren't playing captain.
We're working on the captain's agreement.
Is that your first time seeing that clip?
Yeah.
I think he's playing.
Yeah, I think
doesn't it seem like now it's a little bit more like, okay, we're starting to make logistical arrangements for this?
Well, yeah, I was going to say he's not only not a lock because of himself.
Correct.
Like because of Captain Keegan.
Correct.
He'd be a lock otherwise.
Yeah, there's no argument in which there are 12 Americans who have been more solid than
And there was news this morning they changed the agreement.
Yeah, there was news that came out this morning. I saw that while I was driving in, that Luke Donald agreed to, some clauses that would delegate some responsibilities. And I'm thinking about, when the picks have to be in and who has to submit the final picks and who has to announce the picks as they have those ceremonies. It's going to be hard for Keegan to participate in the ceremony if he's out there on the golf course. It's starting to feel like Keegan's going to play. It's going to add just another wrinkle to a Ryder Cup that we've all been counting down the seconds to. So Keegan Bradley's my 10th on the American side. We've got one more lock on the European side, Matt Fitzpatrick. Mm-hmm. I think it was because of this week. And I wanted to just drop a quick line about Mark Blackburn. We had Mark Blackburn on the show, and he's the #1 golf coach in America, according to Golf Digest. But he's been fired a lot recently. He was fired by Max Homa after helping him, achieve the highest heights of his career. He was fired by Colin Morikawa. After briefly working together, he was fired by Russell Henley. And what he said was, you can't take it personal. You have to have pride in your information. And this guy's been fired a lot, but he just got hired by Matt Fitzpatrick under very unfortunate circumstances. Matt's coach since he was 14 years old. Mike Walker has been a full-time caregiver. His wife is sick, so it's a horrible situation. But Mark got the call, and it's made significant difference in Matt's game. And that just kind of reminded me of what Blackburn was saying, that like golf will humble you even if you're a coach. You're on top of the world. Everyone's lauding how great your work is with Max Homa, and you're #1 in Golf Digest list, and then you get fired by a bunch of these guys, and to maintain that sort of belief in yourself and to see Mark back there, toward the back half of a major championship giving his information made me very happy to see. So that's our last lock on the European side. Again, these are the guys I'm talking about. The Americans now are also not locks. I've got Brian Harman on there. I just think this is a guy who is probably more appreciated by his peers than the media because of his sort of personality. He does love to troll, it seemed, the British public. He was up there on Friday, and they're asking about hunting, and he's like, I don't understand why this became such a massive story, but I'll say with my chest, like, I'm a proud hunter, which is there's clearly a cultural disconnect because the Brits view it as like this savage butcher, and he's like, I like to shoot animals.
I realized that.
He's like, I'm not going to apologize for it, but had another good showing this week. And again, this is sort of more of these spots are up for grabs, but as of right now, I'd probably go with Harman. 10. My 11th spot on the European team, and this is our first non-lock, is Rasmus Højgaard. He had a good week this week. Really hits the ball a really long way, which I think is going to be, he's like up in the low 190s in ball speed, which I think is going to be very important in Bethpage. And we've had our eyes on these Højgaard twins for a long time. Nikolai has played in the Ryder Cup. Rasmus has not gotten it done. This was actually the first tournament I can remember where both of them were up there. It's usually one or the other. You usually attach your everything to one Højgaard horse, and you usually pick the wrong one. But they were both up there this week. But I've got Rasmus up there. He's up there in the points. But again, these last spots are up for grab. And then my last spot for the Americans, if the Ryder Cup were tomorrow, is Chris Gotterup.
Yeah.
Guy won the Scottish Open, finished in the top 5 of the Open Championship. He's got youthful energy. He hits it a really long way. He's from the tri-state area. It just feels like, I don't have Patrick Cantlay on this team. If it were tomorrow, I would go with Gotterup. And my last one for Team Europe is Justin Rose. Yeah. I think he is the lone sort of holdover from that European generation that just gave us work so many times in the Ryder Cup. I'm thinking of Sergio Garcia, and I'm thinking of Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood and Paul Casey, all these guys who went to live and, are sort of on the outside looking in of the Ryder Cup now. He's the one who stayed. He showed so much guts in Italy a couple years ago, and I think they will bring him as sort of the elder statesman. So those are my 12. Those are he's a thespian. I can't believe he shot 5 under this week or whatever he shot, because I feel like every time I saw him, he was hitting a ridiculously horrible golf shot. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, we got some Ryder Cup clarity this week. These are my 12 on each side. You got any thoughts, any takeaways?
Yeah, I would say this is the first week where I feel optimistic about the American team's chances. And that
Xander helped, Bryson helped, Harris English helped, Russell Henley helped. Gotterup has some energy.
Looking at Ben Griffin too, just knowing that I know he can, if he brings that swagger, he's going to be an X factor. Gotterup can be a real X factor. Harman can fly under the radar. What is scary is that they have a guy like Fitzpatrick trending in the right direction, and we have Morikawa sort of trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Those two guys head to head.
Even JT, right? We saw so much earlier this year, but it's really kind of hit a wall in the major season. So
another thought I had while you were going through this was that the Justin Thomas captained American Ryder Cup team of the future is going to be unstoppable. He might win 8 in a row and just be the most, I don't know what it is. It just hit me. I'm like, that's our future.
That's the captain that you're most looking forward to?
If he's the guy that gets picked on homie merit last time, that's the perfect captain for the next time.
Well, they talk about and Keegan's talking about this sort of jokingly of the boys club. I feel like JT is the president of the boys club.
President of the boys club.
Yeah, he's
captain.
Yeah, he's he's the guy. He's the center of the sort of social
Zach Johnson,
scene.
Who thinks he's the head of the boys
club.
Yeah,
he's earned it. Yeah. Harris English. Let's move on to number 13 here. Harris English's golf swing just doesn't get enough love. We talk about Rory McIlroy's golf swing. We talk about Adam Scott's. We talk about Jake Knapp's. So I'm officially ready to bump Harris English's action into that A1
I've never
tier
paid it any mind.
of golf swings. Also, I kind of like the way he dresses. You haven't put him on a list. He seems to have he's got the V-neck over the collar. He's got a little bit of a look.
The thing I like, this is odd, that Harris English does a lot, is he lets one of his collars come outside of his sweater.
Yeah.
And it's pretty steezy, just lets it kind of hang there. I've known people in fashion that do that on purpose.
Okay.
He's doing it genuinely.
Got it. Yeah, you gotta look cool enough to just cool enough that you're not trying. He's a big guy with long arms, so he's able to build speed despite that syrupy rhythm, and he hits flat cuts for days. I was watching him on the range. Just if you like a flat cut, which is a shot that you don't see very often from amateurs, that sort of inside of the ball cut where it's not spinning too much, but it's not loopy, it's not a pull cut. It's
the one Shane wants me to hit.
It's the one that Shane Lowry wants you to hit instead of that scoopy fade. That was a great segue because we've got our next item, number 14, is about Shane Lowry. So regarding the Shane Lowry penalty on Friday. So I know this is unpopular in our sort of social media day, but two things can be true at once. Number one, the video evidence was pretty clear. Lowry's practice swing caused that ball to move. Number two, there wouldn't be video evidence if Lowry wasn't playing in a featured group. That exact scenario probably played out more than 5 times this week.
Sure.
Guys taking practice swings in the heather, in the fescue, and the ball, oscillates and moves a little bit, but just because they weren't in a feature group with Scottie Scheffler, there weren't cameras around. And initially, the broadcast has said, I don't think Shane was looking down when he took that practice swing, so we wouldn't have seen it. Shane said, I was definitely looking down in that practice swing, and I definitely didn't see the ball move. And the rule does say it has to be visible to the naked eye. If Shane was the only one there with naked eye, and I put him in a no-win position, and I thought this was really interesting. Here's John Rahm.
Are you in a no-win situation there?
So, no, you're in a no-win situation because
if you say I didn't see it, therefore I don't think it should be a penalty, even though the rule says it should be visible to the naked eye, you always run the risk of being called something you don't want to be called. And if you take it on the safe side, you're taking a 2-shot penalty. It's a tough spot to be in. From what I understand from the whole thing, and I haven't seen the images, this is just from what I heard, it needs to be visible without a camera, right? So if the rule says visible to the naked eye, we need to uphold that more than anything else.
Can they change that rule somehow to make?
Well, and that's what Shane said afterward. He's like, I didn't see it move with the eye, and that's what the rule says. But I can't be called a cheater. I can't risk my name being thrown around there. And so it was a tough situation because once the broadcast shows it, they had the close up on the ball. They actually didn't have a wider shot. All they had was the close up on the ball. Then the social media is like, I saw that ball move, and now they can't ignore it. So then they have to show the replay, and then they've got a rules guy who's right there, and they got to bring him in, and then there's a whole situation on your hands. It was a no-win situation. I felt for him.
I think if I'm Shane, I got to go about that process as if I'm assuming the cameras didn't see it. Because that's
if the cameras didn't see it, then he's going to stand there and say, I didn't see the ball move. It shouldn't be a penalty. But I think what he said was, I'm just going to get roasted like crazy if I actually argue for what I believe in here. So there's just a no-win situation.
Yeah, but you have a solution that I think is really...
So here's my solution. I think that should be a 1-shot penalty. Yeah. And I understand why it's 2-shot penalty. It's like you played it from the wrong spot because the ball moved. But like, if you took a swing and the ball moved and your swing caused the ball to move, that's a stroke. That's like kind of what this whole game is based on.
It's as if you take a attempt at the ball and you miss, it's a stroke.
Correct.
It should be the same kind of thing.
I don't understand why it's 2. I feel like they should watch that and be like, actually, the ball moved when you took a swing. We're going to add 1 shot to your score, not 2, and that would change. It would make the rule. But if there is a situation like this where it was not visible, there was no intent, but it was determined that the ball moved and you caused it to move, that should just be 1 shot on your score.
That's the key. If there's intent, give him 2 strokes, right? And you can use video evidence for that, right? Like where he like mashed down the ball behind it or something. And
or like if a guy starts like taking practice swings really close to the ball and he's not looking, so he can say like, oh, I didn't see it with the naked eye. But like Shane, and that's what I thought was going to be the tricky one of this, because I thought Shane was going to say I wasn't looking, I was taking practice swings. You can't allow that, because then there might be some, less than honest characters who start taking practice swings kind of close to the ball.
I think you set it up so that the refs can get under the hood and look at it for intent. And if they, by their judgment, see intent to move the ball, it's 2 strokes. If they can see it as a genuine accident, then it's 1 stroke.
Yeah, like Patrick Reed, building sandcastles, that's 2 strokes. Probably should be a DQ.
Should be DQ.
But you're right. If it was like a Shane Lowry situation where there was clearly no intent, it didn't improve the lie. If anything, it might have made it a little bit worse. It might have sat down a little bit. Just add 1.
The rules of golf are allowed to evolve.
Yeah, just add 1 stroke.
Let's do it.
Seems pretty straightforward. And we always like to, number 15 now, we always like to highlight a pros, they're just like us moment at majors, because that's one of the cool aspects of our sport. Like, we can watch the best players in the world on these incredible courses, and every damn day you see a version of what happened in your weekend game. And so this week's edition of Pros Are Just Like Us comes courtesy of Justin Rose, who had a little bit of the shanks this week. He's a future Hall of Famer, but he hit not 1 but 2 hosel rockets from the thick fescue on Saturday. And just watch this clip.
Oh my God! Oh my God! I've shanked it again.
I've shanked it again.
Oh my God! Oh my God! I've shanked it again. We can all
British.
We can just so British, so thespian. I love his reactions. But we've all been there, right? Hitting 1 shot off the hosel is a jolt to the system. It's like a really harrowing experience. Doing it twice when you're a Hall of Famer and the Open Championship, you can just
the direction of a gallery.
You could hear the panic in his voice. Oh my God, I've shanked it again! It's just like sheer panic, and it was such a relatable little moment.
Did you see Bryson on the hill chunk it, sort of like duff it down?
No.
Remember the shot I hit with the 6-iron that you're like, why would you
did it twice?
There?
You did it twice.
He had an exact same shot at Port. It was the same spot. I wanted to put them side by side. Maybe we'll find it for social. I wish you saw it.
But it was just another hugely relatable moment. Yeah. Moving on to number 16, guys. Looper Island stays buzzing. So I don't have the numbers to back this up, but it sure feels like we've had more caddy-related news than ever this year. So a couple updates from this week, and we're going to run the promo here in a second, but I'm going to give you some updates this week. Fan favorites and Netflix duo Joel Damon and Gino Bonelli, the only full-time caddy he's ever had, best friends. They are no more. It's a real bummer. I think, if there was a buddy cop movie, it would be in golf. It would be starring those two. Gino believing in Joel when no one else really did, and writing a letter to Joel to convince him to let him caddy. And I think they said that they're still always going to be best friends, and it is difficult when a friendship sort of starts to overlap with a professional relationship, when maybe you're not playing as well as you thought you were or you should be, and it can just be very stressful. So I think we're all very bummed to see that. Tom Kim, no longer with Paul Tesori, who caddied for Webb Simpson for a lot of years, kind of one of the legendary caddies out there. Tom Kim is no longer working with him. We had a very interesting situation involving Harris English's normal caddy, Eric Larson, who was denied entry into the United Kingdom for this week's Open due to his past prison sentence. You can Google that. It involves moving something across state lines. It was like a new travel requirement because they've obviously traveled to the UK before and he hasn't had this issue. So I don't know if there was some sort of new regulation, but Harris was like, it's BS. He's not a threat to society. Harris finished second. So, doesn't really, I guess it doesn't.
Drama on the island.
Potentially some drama on the island. And then Colin Morikawa's 2-week trial with Billy Foster would appear to be over. So if you're, maybe you need a little bit more of a visual, maybe you need it to look a little bit more like Love Island. So we made another preview, a little promo for Looper Island. Here it is.
Tonight on Looper Island, a day one couple calls it quits, and new visa requirements prove the ultimate test. An old flame rekindles at golf's oldest villa, and a hot new bombshell is single and ready to mingle. But we're all wondering, where does Colin go next?
Oh, Looper Island, just the gift that keeps on giving this year.
Alex Bush, thank you very much.
Alex
for that.
Bush, you're
Where
an
does
absolute
Colin go
legend.
next, though?
I don't
That's
know.
a real question.
I don't know. We're about to find out. I mean, I don't think he's playing this week at 3M, but it's going to be someone who's going to be on the bag for the Open, for the playoffs, for 3 events of the playoffs, and then Ryder Cup. There's a Ryder Cup bag that's just sitting there waiting to be carried. That's a pretty cool experience that someone's going to get.
One other thought I had was about Joel and Gino. I think we were all very upset when we heard the news, and I've transitioned to really happy for both of them because I think Joel and Gino are both going to get what's coming to them in a good way.
Gino's going to get another great bag, and Joel's fighting for his career. He's number 99 in the FedEx. Finished 20th last week. Top 100 keep their full status, so it's going to be a battle again.
I'm picturing Joel playing in the next Ryder Cup and Gino on somebody's bag that has 5 wins, a young phenom. He gets on Jackson Coyvin's
Carl
bag
Phillips or something. Yeah.
And they're have the Dark Knight moment at the cafe where they just look at each other across the cafe and tip the cap like Michael Caine and do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That quiet respect.
And they're both
yeah, I think they're both going to be. They're both. This is probably a good thing for both of them.
Watch this space.
But it's still sad. Sad. 17 for all the Ryder Cup parity in recent decades, and there has been. I mean, the Europeans have gotten us more than we've gotten them, but it's really become a home team wins type of thing. Mm-hmm. This has been an incredible run of form from American golfers in the majors. So Scheffler's win means Americans have won 7 of the last 8 majors and 31 of the past 43. It's the most dominant run ever by American golfers. Americans have also won 4 of the past 5 Open championships. So much for growing up on the links turf, eh? So much for, golf's unique test, and it's so different from the PGA Tour.
Look out.
Seems like the Americans are faring just fine. And our final one, it's actually not our final one because I had 5 more as I was lying in bed last night. So you're going to get 19, 20, 20. You're going to get more 23 parting thoughts. The last one was, the major season just seems to go faster every year. And ever since the PGA moved to May, there's been a Triple Crown pacing to it all, with the horses where it's boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
And word on the street is that time doesn't go any slower the older you get. So I can't believe the 2025 majors are already behind us. But what a show they provided. We had Rory achieving golf immortality. Scottie reminds the world of his greatness. JJ Spawn wins out of nowhere. And then Scottie reminds us once again. And I just wanted to thank everyone on this channel. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, smash like on the video if you enjoyed the coverage this year. Watching, listening to all our major content this year. This is a new channel. This is a new show that we're doing, and I felt so much love in Ireland from you guys and back home. It's been amazing. I'm fired up about the community of golf sickos that we're building, and we're on to the FedEx Cup playoffs, and then Bethpage Black, but I have 5 more. I actually have 5 more thoughts. So, 3-wood speeds have gotten out of control.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching Rory and Chris Goddard both touch 180 miles per hour with their 3-woods. And this is not like on a hot summer day in Kentucky. This was like, it wasn't that warm out there. This is just kind of what it is now. And I was rewatching, we did a stream where we rewatched the 2018 Tour Championship where Tiger beat Rory. Rory was like 168 with 3-wood. I mean, 180 with driver used to be really hot, really fast. And that's like the hot guys now, that's 3-wood. It's one of the reasons why I've kind of come around a little bit on the rollback is like these guys, they just keep getting longer. I keep seeing it happen. And yes, there's all these regulations that are there, but like 180 mile per hour ball speeds with 3-woods were not a thing that long ago. Not a very good week for the live contingent outside of Bryson. John Rahm was not in the mix. Joaquin Niemann missed the cut. And then it looked like he broke every wood in his bag. It was one of the most aggressive stomps I've ever seen. He was also this close from like breaking his caddy's hand. Obviously, he didn't mean to do it, but he was very frustrated. That's the face of a man who knows that these questions about major championship form are just going to continue. And now you've got 9 months until your next chance. Brooks Koepka missed the cut also. It's funny to me that everyone tried to put him on the Ryder Cup team because he shot one good round at Oakmont. But he's not going to be on the Ryder Cup team. There appears to be some sort of injury issue. Pete Cowan was talking about that, but not a great. Cameron Smith missed the cut in all 4 majors this year. I think he was the only guy who played in all 4 and missed the cut in all 4. He's hitting driver all over the place. New father. I don't know if but it was not. And all 4 majors were won by PGA Tour players this year. So yeah, just not a.
Cam Smith might be one of the bigger disappointments in the post-live era, just based on like where he was.
He was number 2 in the world. He was number 2 in the world. He had just won the 150th Open.
It's not just that he hasn't like bubbled up. He's done nothing.
He's done nothing. It was a horrendous year. Haotong Lee is probably going to be on the PGA Tour next year. So he took a big step toward locking up his PGA Tour card through the DP World Tour. I believe he's 3rd in points, but so basically the top 10 finishers in points who aren't already exempt onto the PGA Tour get there. He's in the first position in that, and he's actually playing this week. He was a late add to the 3M Open because he finished in the top 10, so he gets in this week. I think you were talking about how much you enjoyed watching him play. Just a smiley character out there. Nice to get, China's the biggest country in the world when it comes to how many people live there. So nice to have some, representation and, potential to grow the sport over there. So we're going to get more Haotong. More Haotong is on the way. You said inevitable.
Yeah.
About Scottie. That's what everyone's saying. We got to find a different word because you can avoid him. You just go to the Harbor Bar at 11 p.m. and he won't be there. You know where he's going to be. He's going to be on the first page of the leaderboard. And he's going to be on the range, and he's going to be at his house in Dallas. But anywhere else, you can avoid him. I just feel like this inevitable thing. It's just like it's a word that's like out of a comic book. It's like, oh, Batman is inevitable, and we're trying to make him sound like scary. And I've probably used it in the past, but I'm out on the term inevitable. You can avoid him. Just go out to the dinner. He won't be there.
Just go out of your house.
Yeah, just go somewhere that's not the golf course, and he's very avoidable.
I think it is inevitable that he will win the U.S. Open in the next 2 years.
Okay, that's fine. You could say it is inevitable that he's going to win. He is not inevitable because, like I said, just go to a strip club. He won't be there. You can avoid him. And then
him and Kenny Kim hang.
That's right. Kenny Kim will be there, but Scottie will not. Well, that's it. And then the other thing I just wanted to draw some attention to these next events before the playoffs. For a lot of guys, major season is kind of they get to take a break, but top 100 keep their cards this year, down from 125. Number 99 right now is Joel Damon, and number 102 is Max Homa. So we're gonna have some serious intrigue.
Yeah, Max Homa T45 at Barracuda.
And he's playing this week. He's got to keep playing because he's got to try to finish in that top 100. So yeah, just the golf season is not. It's going to be different. It's going to be drama of a different kind. It's not going to be legacy shit. It's going to be, does this guy get to keep his card for next year? But
that's fun.
We're still doing the show next week. So everyone, if you're worried about that, please don't. Now we are going to move into one of my favorite segments, the Zone Rankum Blind. Now before we do our Zone Rankum Blind segment, Ben wanted to try a quick Zone Flavors Rankum Blind. What's your go-to, Ben? You're telling me about one you're really liking. Mine is the 6 milligram wintergreen, but they got 7 flavors, and all of them come in 6 and 9 milligrams. You don't see 9 every day. So let's go. A flavor game.
So dragon fruit is my pouch of choice here. I would say rank dragon fruit, citrus, and peppermint.
I'm gonna go citrus number 1. I'm going to go peppermint number 2, and I'm going to go dragon fruit number 3. Just because I haven't tried it. I just haven't tried it yet. So I gotta debut there. But
we'll report back next
show. We will absolutely report back next show. Zone is like a go-to for me when I'm traveling. It's I lock in, you know what I mean? It's like my official, like, okay, we're doing this. And they've got it's stronger kick than the other ones. It's a great product. You get more. There's 20 in there instead of 15, so you get more bang for your buck. And thank you to Zone for sponsoring rank 'em blind this week. One of my absolute staples on the road. Okay, Ben, talk to me about our topic, and I will grab the whiteboard.
Grab the whiteboard. It is a long flight from Los Angeles to Ireland, so thank you to Zone.
Well, I gotta just we're gonna break the fourth wall here. My man Ben needs a personal travel agent because we flew from Los Angeles to Dublin, and it was pretty straightforward. Fly Los Angeles to Dublin, and then it was 3-hour drive maybe to get up to Portrush. That seemed like the pretty self-evident way to get there. How did you get there? I
went to Boston, and then I went to Belfast. And then I took a cab from Belfast to Portrush.
And then on the way back?
And on the way back, I took a cab from Portrush to Belfast, and went from Belfast to Heathrow, and then went from Heathrow to New York, and I went from New York to LA.
So you took 3 flights and a 1-hour drive. You could have taken a 2.5-hour drive in one flight.
I was traveling for 24 hours.
And I asked you, I was like, did you ever look into just meeting us in Dublin, flying there? You said no.
No, I'm just bad at this.
You're really bad at this.
You know
and you're so good at so many things, but booking travel is not one of them. But the Zone, thank goodness you had enough Zone to get you through.
Like playing ball and hole, I like to think that I'm a much tougher person coming out
Playing ball and hole is a lot cooler than voluntarily visiting Newark and Heathrow. You did not have to set foot in either of those. Okay, you did not have to set foot in either of those places that give me a lot of stress. But you know what? We're sidetracked.
Speaking of things that stress you out and annoy you, this week's blind ranking is annoyances on the golf course.
Okay. All right. I've got a lifetime of history with these.
This is just stuff that bothers you. This is some of it's like pretty nuanced. Some of it you've heard before.
Okay, so stuff that happens that's just like annoys the crap out of you.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So a very specific one to start with.
Okay.
Mindlessly slow play from a nice person. So it's somebody you love and you love hanging out with them, but they are just obliviously playing very slow, and it's pissing you off because you can't tell them because you like them.
Well, it puts you in a tough spot. It puts you in a tough spot because, the easiest way to sort of, make your feelings known on slow play is to just be a little bit maybe walk off the green a little bit faster, maybe talk about I'm going to go hit, and you try to give those subtle messages, and then they're just not getting them, and eventually you have to say hey man, you need to pick up the pace. It's a rough one to be. I'm going to put it right in the middle because I don't know what else is coming. But mindlessly slow play is, and it sounds like it's mindless because it's not like they're playing ball and hole and finishing it and playing like golf is meant to be played. They might just be, talking too much. One thing that's really bad, I don't know if this is going to be on the list. One thing that really bothers me is when someone stands over the ball and then tells a story.
Oh, no.
You got to hit the ball and then tell the story. Or tell the story and then hit the ball. Yeah. But the pump fake where you're over the ball and then this and then this, and then they hit a shit shot and you're like, well, maybe telling a 400-word story wasn't the best pre-shot routine. Just a bit of a rough spot.
When someone does that and then they stripe one, though, you're like, damn, I respect that.
Yeah, you're like, that guy's a boss. Okay, number 5.
Next up, getting scolded for wearing a hat in the clubhouse. Not the rule of wearing a hat in the clubhouse, but when you get scolded for wearing it.
I don't mind this one. I think, places have rules, and I think it's a nice thing. The golf has come a long way in terms of dress codes and stuff like that, but I think there are still nice courtesies that don't bother me when places have them, and I think a hat off in the clubhouse doesn't really bother me. So if I'm wearing one, it's my fault. I'm breaking the rules. I like to respect the rules of places, so I'm putting that at number 8. Scolded for hat in clubhouse.
Right at the camera and give my opinion on this one. It is dumb, and you've got to change it.
What?
No hats in the clubhouse.
Why?
It just there's what does it bother anybody? What crime does it solve?
I mean, it's not a crime. It's a pretty high bar for something that shouldn't be allowed. Is whether it's a crime.
A crime of etiquette.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to do to take your hat off when you walk into a room.
Locker room. I'll tell you how much crime of etiquette's happening in there.
Oh wow, okay, you're fired up on this.
Keep the hat on. I'm sick of that rule.
Okay, wow.
Sorry, I did get a little hot.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, that's fine.
Back to it. Number 3, a high handicap, self-loathing golfer is in your group.
Yeah, number 2. You suck. It's okay. You're not a professional golfer.
Stop telling me that you usually play.
Stop telling me that this never happens to you. Yeah. Stop telling me that you actually shot 81 last week. Stop telling me that, you got new clubs. You're not very good at golf. That's fine. Own it. Play fast. Move along. There's nothing worse than a guy who's going to shoot 90 who just wants everyone to think that he is an 80 shooter when he shoots 98.
It's okay.
It's okay to suck. Just make peace with that before you turn up to the first tee. So what are we doing? Self-loathing bad golfer. Yeah, that one's pretty tough. You're just not good to play with.
It's just the person you don't want to play with.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
All right. Next up is a classic. It's a person taking forever to find their balls. They're searching beyond the limit for their
So can I tell you something that happened on our Ireland trip?
Yeah.
This is a good one. So we had a trip. Yeah, he's definitely not looking for his ball. That's from a photo.
That's a.
We had a week-long low net competition. So we were playing ball and hole, and we had a low net for every day, and we had a low net that was the whole 8 rounds combined. And on the last round, it was very close between my buddy Dylan and my dad. And Dylan lost a ball on like the 11th hole or the 12th hole, and we all looked for like 3 minutes, and then we all moved along, and Dylan kept looking, and probably 3 more minutes later, as we were all on the green, he found his ball. It was very much past the 3-minute rule, and we had all moved on, and he found it, and then he played it, and the two of them for the next hour were just going back and forth because Dylan should have stopped his search. But then once he didn't stop his search and he found the ball, then he makes my dad look like the asshole for being like, well, actually, your 3 minutes were up. And how much does this low net competition really mean to us?
Right.
So they compromised and they added 1 stroke to his score, I think, instead of the 2 strokes if he had lost the ball.
Okay.
But yeah, looking for your ball for too long it's weird. It's a little bit dark. It's like, how much does this really mean to you?
It
like,
also makes it uncomfortable for everyone else because if you can only help for so long before you got to move on to your own
like
stuff.
they made that. It used to be 5 minutes, and they made it to 3 minutes to speed it up. And I think it's so much of this game is about self-policing. You have to be the one who's, and I always try to do this when I'm looking for a ball. At some point, you say, "Don't worry about it. I'm just going to drop one over here. I'm playing as a lost ball. Or I'm going to go hit another, whatever it is."
It happened when we were playing on Friday.
Yeah, and then you actually found it.
We found it,
but that was within.
But it was
3 minutes.
within. Yeah.
But you have to be the one as a golfer who calls off the search because then it's just awkward for the other guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number 3.
A lot of this stuff I'm finding more awkward than annoying, actually. It just makes you feel uncomfortable.
It puts you in a bad spot, which is annoying in and of itself.
Yeah.
Okay, we got 2, 3, 5, and 8.
All right, next up is a flip version of another one. So a deliberate slow play from a really good player. So like you're playing with wax, and he's taking forever on purpose.
He never takes forever. If you actually take forever on purpose, that's a low move.
You're taking this way too seriously, and I know that you're really good, and so you've earned it.
Yeah, it happened to me once when I was like 15 playing in a club championship, and when you're 15, your patience is non-existent and a slow round of golf. So yeah, again, it's just a bit of a hardo move. Just be a normal person. This is not the United States Open. I'm putting that number 4. Okay. All right, I'm gonna close my computer and show you guys the board. So we've got. Number 2, we've got self-loathing bad golfer. Just smile a little bit. Number 3, we've got looking for a ball for too long. It's just an awkward setup for the rest of the squad. Number 4, deliberate slow play from a good golfer. That feels very Machiavellian. Number 5, mindlessly slow play from a bad golfer. Equally annoying almost, but for opposite reasons. And then number 8, getting scolded for your hat in the clubhouse. It's just that one doesn't bother me, but it really bothers Ben, and I have empathy for that. Okay, let's move on.
All right, next up is getting hit into but not hit.
Well, there's a big sort of unknown here. Was it on purpose? Did they do it because
you never know, right? Your back's to the tee box. You just saw a ball fly through.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me. Really? I mean, it just depends a lot on what if the guy comes up there with his head in his hands and he's like, "Hey, sorry, I didn't think I could hit it that far. I didn't see you guys. It's totally fine." If you do it to like sort of send a message, then again, like, why is everyone so aggro? I'm putting that
context is important.
Context is really important here, but I'm putting that number 6, getting hit into but not hit. Okay.
All right. Next up is a personal big annoyance of mine. That GPS feature that shuts you off your cart.
Oh, number 1.
Makes you go
when it starts beeping, you got to do the reverse of shame.
And it shuts it off.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think? I'm just going to drive this thing into a fucking water hazard for sport?
Yeah, come on.
You know what I mean? Like, if you want to put a warning on there that's like, "Hey, don't drive into this flower bed," that's fine. But like, you telling me that I need to keep my distance from the bunker, you can shut the fuck up on that.
I know.
I know, and the beeping's really bad, and it locks your car. You have to go in reverse.
Bad for everyone.
I'm just putting this as the reverse of shame because that is number 1. And oftentimes it'll happen when you're like in a bad spot because you're like looking for a ball or whatever, and then it's like insult to injury because that thing doesn't go when you're like right in the middle of the fairway. I'm putting that number 1. So we only have 7, 9, and 10. So I've been pretty annoyed so far today.
All right, next up, you pull up to the tee box and you caught the group in front of you. They're waiting there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to this from junior golf, the multiple groups on the tee. It's very annoying, but like, who do you get mad at, right? It's usually not the group in front of you. It's not usually not their fault. They're usually like, hey, we're waiting.
I usually blame God in that.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to do it. Just give it a Shane Lowry, fuck this place.
Yeah.
Do you blame the golf course? Yeah, it's annoying, but again, I'm trying to have this like newfound outlook on the golf course where it's not about, what I shoot or how fast I play. It's just simply being out there. So a little extra time on the golf course, maybe not the worst thing in the world. I'm putting that number 7, multiple groups on tee. Because again, we're just trying to have fun being out there. It's not the most serious thing in the world. If I'm playing a tournament and I've got something going, and then that disrupts my rhythm, that's a separate situation.
Let's stay in that headspace for the next one.
Okay.
You're playing in a tournament. It's the mid-am, and the weather horn blows when you're on fire.
You're just gonna be mad at the weather now?
I'm saying it's an annoying thing that happens on the golf course.
It is an annoying thing that happens on the golf course. Yeah, but I also don't want to get struck by lightning. I mean, one of the first really scared I was Caddyshack, watching a movie, because I was allowed to watch a movie from a young age when the guy gets struck by lightning. That's kind of in my head, and I think that'd be a really bad way to go. So I'm putting that number 10, weather horn. Okay, because that feels really sort of like force majeure, right? Isn't that it's like life happens?
It's true.
Okay. 9.
You're really good at not getting mad at things that are out of your control.
I'm trying.
All the things that are out of my control here. I love the shaking the fist at the sky. All right, last up, unsolicited swing tips.
Okay, so it's going number 9 because that's where it is.
You heard it here first. You can give Dan Rappaport unsolicited swing tips.
So this used to really bother me when I was a kid because you just feel like you kind of know everything. It's definitely like a power move, especially if the guy is worse than you. But if the guy is better than you, and I often play golf with players who are better than me, I think I've gotten to a place with my ego or lack thereof where I want to know what you're seeing.
Well, I would say more
information is my friend, I think.
More often than not, the players you're playing with are not as good as you.
Yeah.
So it's like, imagine me giving you an unsolicited swing tip. You're like, what the fuck do you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably not my favorite. It probably would have been higher on this list, but that's the blind ranking. There's a lot of things that golfers get mad about. We're going to start at number 10. When the weather horn goes off, when you're in the middle of Ben is just blaming God for that one. Number 9, unsolicited swing tips, usually from a player who's worse than you. That is, what do you know is exactly the correct response. Number 8, getting scolded for wearing a hat in the clubhouse. This actually doesn't really bother me. I don't mind the hats off in the clubhouse. Number 7, multiple groups on tee. Again, feels like you're kind of wasting your energy. Number 6, getting into but not hit. I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt. They usually didn't mean to. Number 5, mindlessly slow play from a guy you like. We've now entered the portion of puts me in a pretty unfortunate spot because I got to be the asshole. Number 4, deliberate slow play. You're actually the asshole. If you don't have to make me the asshole, you're being an asshole. I wish that was a little bit higher. Number 3, looking for a ball for too long. It's a little bit personal now because of the debacle that we had at the island of July 2025 will never be forgotten. Number 2, self-loathing bad golfer. You suck to play with. You suck, but it's okay. Just don't be sucky and have a bad attitude. And then number 1, the reverse of shame. Yeah. That is probably the most annoying thing that goes out there because you're like, I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to drive this golf cart into a bunker.
I think you nailed the top 3 there.
You like that?
Those are absolutely the 3.
Yeah, those are infuriating. I want to thank you to Zone for sponsoring that. That was good fun. It's fun to throw in a zone and talk about golf with your buddies. Something that I can absolutely get behind. We're gonna move into Chirps from the gallery. This has been an incredible show. We've already been going for an hour 50. I feel like I have 2 hours left to go. Wow. It's 11:50 right now. We have so many Chirps. This was a major week for the internet as well. We're gonna start with this user submission about Shane and Rory. So our colleague Alan Shipnuck wrote a really nice piece about Shane and Rory and their friendship, and then our friend Jared reached out and said, my father and I were on the tee box of the par 5 12th at Oakmont on Friday of the tournament, and it was getting pretty backed up, so there were 2 to 3 groups on the box at once. So when Rory and Shane's group were up, they had some waiting to do. During that time, some jerk from the gallery started chirping Rory about the upcoming Ryder Cup, saying stuff like, you boys are scared of New York, and asking what he thought about the upcoming Ryder Cup. Rory didn't acknowledge it, but you could tell it was getting annoying to both him and truthfully the rest of the gallery. To almost ease the tension or get Rory to not worry about it, Shane just looked at him and jokingly said, if we play this way, we're fucked. The gallery loved it. Rory laughed, and my father and I quoted it for the rest of the weekend. But I think it does kind of, it's in line with what Alan was writing about, where Shane is a little bit of like a pressure valve for Rory, I love that guy and his dad are going to say that forever on the golf course. We're fucked. Chris Powers was on fire this week on Cameron Young, another guy who disappointed a lot of people who bet on him. Is he the best golfer in the world? No. Does he at least have a win or two? Also no. But is he likable and easy to root for? Again, no. Does he inspire confidence that he'll surely at some point finally get it done in the future? No. So CP's out on Cam Young. This was an interesting stat that we saw about Brian Harman and Tyrrell Hatton. Harman and Hatton at 9'10" would be the shortest combined height in an Open Championship final group since 12-year-old young Tom Morris was paired with Squeaky the Imp Callahan at the 1873 edition, right after the American Civil War. So you learned something new. No, dude, Squeaky the Imp Callahan.
I don't know, dude. But Tom and 1873.
Tom and Marty's is very, very funny. Cara Banks is a tall woman. And Brian Harman is not a tall man. So when Cara Banks interviewed Brian Harman, it looked a lot like this famous photo of Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve, another strong one there from Chris Powers. Jordan Spieth, interesting graphic here. This was one part of the promo on Sky Sports. Looks like he's saying, like, come closer, like he's inviting you on an intrepid adventure, says Sam Harrop. I think we got some more. Can we roll a few more? Yeah. He's there with Chubbs Peterson, just saying hi from the heavens above Happy Gilmore's house. Do we have another one? Is there another Spieth one, or is that it? That might be it.
Victor rubbing his hands, and that was my favorite.
Yeah, Victor's rubbing his hands. Like, Jordan's like this. Do you think they told him, like, hey, do something with your hands? Or they must have told them,
I
like,
think they photographed them separate.
And put them together. Wyndham Clark, big time bounce back this week. So we talked a lot about Bryson on the show. Wyndham did a very similar thing. After beginning the Open with a 76, Wyndham Clark has bounced back with consecutive rounds of 5 under 66. His only other time in 15 prior major championship starts with back-to-back rounds in the 60s was en route to winning the 2023 U.S. Open, and Nick Chocecki told us that all lockers have been marked safe from outburst. I still can't believe that thing became public. He actually spoke about it. Did you see it yesterday? Yeah. They were asking questions about it. He's like, I feel terrible about this. I want to do all the things that they want to do, that they said. It was really disappointing that it went public. And Kevin Kisner said that no one's sort of right in the situation. I kind of agree. Like, Wyndham acted like an idiot, but also, like, this becoming public and becoming this whole, like, he's not allowed on the grounds feels like a little bit dramatic. Feels like it could have been handled privately.
I feel
they were pissed off by his apology. That's what it was.
Well, no, I just think, like, he should be held accountable for what he did. Like, he did that.
Yeah.
So, like,
but they can still hold him accountable without that, like, whole thing becoming public.
That's true.
So, Scottie leading the Open but not fulfilled. We've got a fun little graphic here, right? Don't we? When you're leading the Open but it doesn't fulfill you. I don't know how it didn't click in my head to just click on the grok machine on X or Twitter and just say, give me emo Scottie Scheffler, because that is absolutely fantastic. Sergio had an outburst. Snapping your driver when you're out of contention Sunday at the Open, playing with Justin Leonard, who made the cut this week. He beat Victor Hovland this week.
Sure did.
And dressed like you're working the drive-through window at McDonald's. I saw a clip this morning where Sergio said that he's done that a bunch of times. It's never broken before. He actually was hypothesizing that maybe there was a crack in the shaft, which is a nice spin zone. Scottie mural. A lot of talk about the Shane mural. Time to start on the new mural, which
Why does
is
that
just
look like Andrew Novak.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Scottie, but this is not a fulfilling life, just staring off into the abyss. I do wonder if they keep the Shane mural or if Scottie gets the mural now. Is it like that's forever, or is
I think you keep Shane because he's like the son of the island.
Okay. Yeah, so you're getting very you didn't say son of the Irish, like you're getting good with the you got to be really political when you say that sort of thing.
I loved it there. Like, I can't wait to go back.
Yeah. What would Rory need to shoot? Some people were asking what Rory would need to shoot in order to win tomorrow, and the answer is just Scottie.
Correct.
He would need to do something highly illegal. Ricky, you loved his outfits this week. Big content guy thinks that he looks like he owns a bait and tackle shop in Key West.
That's why I like the fit.
Okay.
So agreed. Big content guy.
Yeah, you guys can both shake hands on that one. The PGA Tour orchestrates these winners videos every time a guy wins a tournament, where they take the phone and they say, hey, this is me, I just won the... Scottie's doing it every week. Let's roll it.
Hey y'all, it's Scottie here. Hey y'all, Scottie Scheffler here. Hey y'all, Scottie here. Hey y'all, Scottie Scheffler here.
It's just a lot of that.
Hey y'all.
Just a lot of that coming in our future. And then, one guy who's maybe not as impressed as the rest of us because it's just become sort of normal for him is Scottie Scheffler's son, Bennett Scheffler. Look at this. Bennett Scheffler is like, what's the big deal? We do this every Sunday. All I do is win major championships. So, that kid's become very accustomed to trophies.
He's dripping too, as you mentioned earlier, that full green, full kit.
Full green, full kit. Yeah, really, really good. And once again, many thanks to Zone for what they do. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Underage sale prohibited. When I need to dial things in on the course, I go with Zone nicotine pouches because they got stronger nicotine intensity and better flavors, and they last longer. So those are 3 pretty damn good reasons. They came with me all throughout my travels this year, going on the PGA Tour, all throughout Ireland, and they're more comfortable than any other pouch out there. You won't catch me on the course without a couple of cans of Zone in my bag. Also, if you want Zone pouches at a discount and mailed right to your door, that seems pretty convenient. Head to nicokick.com, NICOKICK.com, and enter code DanOnGolf20 at checkout for an additional 20% off. We're going to leave you guys. We made it almost 2-hour show today with our clip of the week. It's Big Ben. Hated my putter so much that he putted with a 3-wood in Ireland. Thank you guys so much, genuinely, for all of the support for this channel, for this show. We had such a good time. We'll be back. We're going to do a stream some point this week. I've got my big charity event on Wednesday, so I'm not sure it's going to be a Wednesday night like we normally do. But yeah, just feeling really, really grateful to everybody. Didn't you felt the love in Ireland this week?
I really did. I was surprised how many people, not like Americans who traveled over, but people that live there.
Yeah.
That came up and said they listened to the show or watch the show, listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Exciting.
It was
I
good.
even got recognized. Someone said, "I know you."
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you're the guy who's saying all the stuff that annoys Dan.
Now watch me make a birdie.
Now watch me make this birdie. Here's our clip of the week. We love you guys. See you next week, Golf Sickos. Ooh, that's got potential. 2-2 with it. Yeah! Yes! What a way to finish. What a 2.
A bird.
Let's go. Let's go.
I can leave Northern Ireland with some wins.